Stand up, New York Giant fans. Hope everybody's doing well out there. And I'm excited tonight. Going to do something new. Going to talk to you guys for a couple minutes. Then we're going to start bringing on the guests. Going to try doing this once a week. I think it'll be a lot of fun during the season, or at least approaching the season, talking about the games and recapping the games and things like that. But I've been wanting to do this for a while. I've done call-in shows before, but I think this is a better format where I get to have you guys come in via video and get to talk to you guys. I'm going to do it, pre-show. I'm going to organize it so I get 3-4 subscribers on a show and talk to you guys for about 15, 20 minutes. Why you became Giants fans, whatever questions you may have for me. And I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to have all 3 guests on one at a time for about 15 minutes. Then at the end, if they're still available, we'll definitely do a roundtable discussion. So really looking forward to it. I just want to say thank you to everybody for tuning in. If you haven't done so, please hit that thumbs up. What's going on, Daniel? What's going on, Edward Chan? What's going on, Aaron Morgan? Joe Lutz in the house. Killian Farrell, AV Sports. Jawad in the house. Renee, Andrew, Christopher in here. What's going on, man? Rafael DeLuna, Deke Oop, Aaron Morgan. Thank you guys for being here. I really do appreciate it. What's going on, you bastard? That's what Joe Lutz always says to me. What's up, Craig? What's up, QC? What's going on, Alphabet? He has too many letters in his name. I don't know what else to call him. What's going on, Billy? Thank you to everybody for being here. I appreciate it. Football Talk in the house. Max Major. Let me move the chat back here. But yeah, not a lot of news today. I did my my broad. I think we lost Mustafa. Hopefully he's back. But I did my hot takes today, but not a lot of news today. So I figured we'll start doing this. Start having some of you guys on the channel talking Giants football, giving me your thoughts of what you think of this offseason. Of course, we'll answer your questions as well when we get an opportunity. So we'll definitely feed off the chat as well. So thank you guys for being here. What's going on, Word? Thank you for being here. What's going on, Renee? Tyler, Sacred Dust, thank you guys for being here. And my first guest, all the way from England, really looking forward to this, asked me to, from the UK, asked me to come on the channel on Instagram. As soon as I posted I was going to be doing this. Louie's been a Giant fan for a little bit. I just thought it'd be really cool to get, I've been wanting to do this for a while, to get a UK fan's perspective, being that it's something completely different. Most people that are NFL fans, for the most part, are from the United States. It's more of a domestic sport. But it's obviously been getting more and more popular in the UK ever since we've started to bring the sport over there. But Louis, man, first off, I want to say thank you for popping on and thank you for being a great subscriber.
Pleasure.
What's going on, man?
Pleasure. Not much. Just been trying to get through this time. I think everyone's trying to do the same thing. I mean, it's not ideal for anyone, but
it's tough, man. But the first thing I wanted to ask you, Louis, was the obvious question for me is how did you become a New York Giant fan? And what made you root for a team that's this bad right now? How did you become a Giant fan and how did you fall in love with this football team?
Well, I think I've been watching American football for a couple of years. So I understand the sport and know a fair bit about it. I've watched the Super Bowls and stuff like that. And then my dad went to New York Christmas 2 years ago, bought me a Saquon Barkley, a year ago, sorry. Bought me a Saquon Barkley jersey, thankfully. It wasn't a Sam Darnold one. And then, so I've been looking to support a team. And then I've got a reason to support one now. And then ever since then, I've been learning about the history of our franchise, Super Bowl wins, what we're like now. And for me, always, if you're going to support a team or anything like that, you've got to be loyal to a team no matter how bad or good things get. So I think I've been watching all your stuff, all reading about all the articles and the draft and all how we're going. And we are in the middle of a rebuild right now and you have to be patient and things aren't going to come straight away. So yeah, I think to be a loyal supporter, you just got to stick with it. And that's how I kind of fell in love with Big Blue.
Yeah, I mean, I say it all the time. The real fans are the fans that are sticking through it right now. The fans that are still passionate, the people that still watch my videos, still want to talk New York Giants, even knowing going into the year, this is a team that's won 12 games over their last 3 seasons, and you hit the nail right on the head. The Giants are definitely going through a rebuild, and I think fans have to accept that and embrace it. It's a young team. It's an exciting time to see some of these young kids progress and get better over time. Guys like Saquon Barkley, guys like Daniel Jones, But what did you think of the offseason overall, being that this is really your first or second year really getting into the team? What did you think of the offseason overall, how the New York Giants handled everything, some of the draft picks that they brought in, and just I guess, the future of this football team?
Well, they don't really show the draft in England, so I had to try and look it on my phone. And when we drafted Andrew Thomas, I've been trying to watch the combine on people's streams on YouTube. And when I saw Andrew Thomas, I really thought he would fit our offensive line, especially because we've been kind of lacking that area, and that's one of you win games in the trenches. And as well, we've picked up Matt Peart in the draft as well, which I'm actually really excited about, because I think every Giants fan would like maybe Andrew Thomas to start on the left and then Nate Solder on the right. And with Nate Solder playing a new position, right tackle, I think Matt Peart and Nate Solder could really help each other out to bring Matt Peart into the professional game. And then Nate Solder can learn off Matt Peart with the new right tackle position. And then I think Xavier McKinney, I watched your video today about how he's going to be one of the main contenders for Defensive Rookie of the Year. And I couldn't agree more. I think he's exactly what we need in this defense. I think we've definitely done a lot of things. Blake Martinez, I think he's a good sign. I know a lot of people think he's not as good, but I think he's what we need right now. We need a bit of stability and a bit of leadership in that linebacker, especially because that's one of our weakest points. But I hope we can hopefully come forward with Lorenzo Carter. Hopefully he can put in a shift and actually step up to what I think a lot of people believe him to be. But yeah, I think it's been a good offseason. I don't think we could have done much better, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that for sure, man. And thank you so much, Cody Collins, for the $2 donation. I appreciate it. He says, Tana looks like a Roman Reigns fan, shaking my head. Thank you very much. No, but I'm with you in terms of the offseason, man. I think that the Giants hit it on the head. I mean, they didn't overspend in free agency. They brought in guys that I think were improvements. And I thought that they filled in their biggest needs at this point in time. I think that they needed an offensive line to support their young quarterback and running back. I love what the Giants did this year in the draft. I think they have a clear plan, and I'm excited to see what they do going forward. What do you think of the team this year? Obviously, like you said, they're in rebuild mode. But what do you think of the team this year? What are your expectations for this season, and I guess going forward, all for this year?
I think, first of all, I think the record is probably I think everyone's either leaning to 5-11, 6-10, maybe 7-9, depending on how we deal with injuries and how we adapt to our schedule. But I think it's going to be a good year we've got Saquon Barkley, who's coming off an injury last season. He wasn't up to full speed, but now I don't know if you've seen a video of him squatting. I think it was 500 odd pounds. I don't know if you've seen the video, but he looks like he's a beast at the minute. So I can't wait to see what he can do. Daniel Jones, obviously learning a new playbook, but I feel like he's been working really hard. So I feel like that's a bit of Eli as well. I think that shows a really good sign. Our wide receivers, I know a lot of people are a bit not confident, but I think we are. I think Sterling Shepard's a really good slot wide receiver. And then we've got Golden Tate with lots of experience. Then I think Darius Slayton had one of the most underrated rookie seasons in all the rookies last year, because him and Daniel Jones have that connection. It kind of reminds me of Eli and Victor Cruz a little bit, just of how well they link together.
Okay, I can see that a little bit. Yeah.
And then I think I just can't wait to see. It's a bit of strange because I know not a lot of people get excited by the offensive line, but I'm really excited to see how we adapt that. And I'd love to see Shane Lemieux at centre for a bit this season as well. And then hopefully Matt Peart could maybe start some games later in the season if our playoff hopes are gone or we deal with some injuries. But I think my prediction would be 6-10 record. I think I'd be happy with that. I think that definitely shows we're getting better. And then maybe, who knows, 2-3 years maybe contending for playoff games and hopefully Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think that's about right. I mean, I think 6 or 7 wins, 5 to 7 wins. I think that's exactly where my expectations are as well. Of course, it's football; anything could happen. You get a couple of bounces. You don't know. It's a game filled with injuries. If the Giants could remain healthy, other teams don't. Maybe they catch teams on the right weeks. You never know. But I think 5 to 7 wins is, I think, where most fans are. I think that's realistic expectations, but it's football, and I'm going to go into the year optimistically and hope we get some of the bounces. That's the way I'm looking at it going in. But I'm really excited about this team this year and going forward. And I think next year you're going to see this team really start to compete to at least contend for the playoffs in 2021 and hopefully competing for a Super Bowl going forward. And Daniel Jones to me is the X factor this year, and I want to get your thoughts on him in a second. John Letourneau, man, thanks so much for love, man. I really appreciate it. He says, stand up, the entertainer. You're the man, my friend, as always. But can you ask Louis how he feels about my Eagles? And can you sing Ring My Bell? Well, there you go. There we go. We're gonna ask you that. John Letourneau is a great subscriber of mine, been with me forever. And all right, John, I'll do it just for you. Will you ring my bell? So, John wants to know, what is your opinion on the Philadelphia Eagles this year, and I guess going forward? Do you think they're the favorites to win the division? Who do you like, them or the Cowboys?
I don't really want to choose any, to be honest. It's kind of a lose-lose. But I think I don't think the Eagles are the strongest in the NFC. I think, sadly, I'm gonna have to admit that probably is the Cowboys. But I really don't think between the Cowboys, the Eagles, and the Giants right now, I don't think there's that much of a margin. I don't think you can definitively say one would constantly roll over the other. And I just, after so many disappointing losses, after watching all the history of the Giants, and I watched the final game of last season was against the Eagles, and it just wasn't nice to watch, constantly getting defeated by the same team. But personally, I think we can beat this year at least once at home. So no, don't like the Eagles, don't like the Cowboys. Not a massive fan of the Redskins either. But at least we can keep beating them.
You're new to the Giants fan base, but you picked it up quick. We do not like those guys. We hate the Eagles. We hate the Cowboys. We do not like the Redskins very much. As far as the Eagles go, I think in terms of the 22, meaning the starting offense and defense, they're probably the best team in the division. But I think they lack depth, and I think they have a lot of injury-prone players. So if I'm an Eagles fan, that's what I'm worried about. They're a team that suffered a lot of injuries the last couple of years, and I don't think they have a lot of depth on that team. They lost a lot of their depth pieces to free agency. I thought they had a decent draft outside of the first couple of rounds. I thought that they reached on Hurts. But we'll see. I actually probably favor the Cowboys going in to win the division. But I'm kind of with you. I think a lot of the experts seem to think that the Eagles are miles better than us. They're better. They're definitely better. I don't know if they're miles better, right? But here's the thing. We just find ways to lose to that football team. The last 3 or 4 years, we could have won probably 4 out of the last 6 games that we've played against the Philadelphia Eagles, and we just find ways to lose the games. And until we overcome that and find a way to beat the team, I think a lot of Giants fans are going to kind of be iffy when they're talking about going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. But this year, I'll give John credit this year. I think the Eagles are definitely better than the Giants going in, but I don't like their cap situation going forward. And, we'll see if they can keep Carson Wentz healthy. But I do think the Giants have a brighter future. But this year, I would say that the Eagles are a little bit better right now. Independent, man, thanks so much for love. I've got another question for you, Louis. Independent outside, man, thanks so much for love. I appreciate it. He says, Louis and Tana, if you were coach, what one personnel change would you make right now? Are you excited about the defensive backs or no? All right, so 2 questions there. Okay. If you were the head coach for the New York Giants, Louis, what personnel change would you make right now?
I've been kind of thinking about this one a little bit, because you look at Daniel Jones, learning a new playbook in his first year with the Giants, and then having to do it again. So I think, personally, if I had to make a change, it'd probably be keeping Pat Shermer as offensive coordinator, just to help Daniel Jones settle in a bit more and not having to keep constantly changing his plays. Because I feel like as a young quarterback, there's only so much you can take. And I definitely think Daniel Jones can handle it this year. And I'm really happy to see that we've got a really good offensive coordinator, Jason Garrett. But I think that's one I'd change, just to keep Daniel Jones. Like you said, he's our X factor. He's our main guy. You've got to keep him sharp, and you can't have him getting confused on any plays, which I'm sure he won't. But I think that's definitely the one that changed.
That wasn't a bad answer, I kind of said that when but I didn't think it was ever realistic because you weren't going to ask the head coach to come in, Joe Judge, who they ended up hiring, and say, oh, the guy who just was the head coach before you was going to stay on and be the offensive coordinator. That would have just been bad chemistry. So I knew it would have never worked. But in a perfect world, I agree with you. I think Pat Shurmur is a good quarterback guy. I think he did a good job with Daniel Jones in that aspect. He was bad at everything else. In a perfect world, I think that would have been the way to go just because he wouldn't have had to learn a new offense. I do think he fits this Jason Garrett scheme very well, though, and I'm excited to see how he does this season in the new offense. But I actually think that's a pretty good answer. In terms of the personnel change, man, that's a good question. I mean, what would I change in terms of personnel? I'd like to see a lot more I formation. I've said that in the past. I'd like to see Elijah Penny out there more. I'd like to see more I formation with a lead blocker for Saquon Barkley. I hope that they do that a little bit more, mix it up. I'll say that. And then, are you excited about the defensive backs or no? I'll let you answer that.
I think, I mean, we still got the DeAndre Baker case going on, but that's not fully finished yet. And if he does come back, he's going to have a good year because, I mean, we already know that he's on thin ice. We already know that Joe Judge isn't going to take any of him lacking in training, any falling asleep in meetings. So he's going to have a good year. And then I'm excited to see Darnay Holmes and see what he can do. I think Corey Ballantyne and Grant Haley, I think they need to, they're still young. I mean, they're not going to be shooting up to where maybe a lot of the Giants fans would love them to be. But I think I'd love to see a bit more of Julian Love just to see what he can do, because I think he's a good player. I think that given the right time, and if he does end up in one of those cornerback positions, he needs to do a good job. Because if he wants to cement himself as a starting cornerback in this roster, he needs to keep playing well, because we have good, young, talented defensive backs, and unless he steps it up, he's going to get replaced eventually.
Yeah, I personally am really excited about the secondary this year. I think that might be the unit I'm most excited about because they're young. I think most Giant fans are incredibly excited about Xavier McKinney. DeAndre Baker, I've said it time and time again, I think he's the X factor to this defense this year. I'm excited about it. It's young. They're still underdeveloped. They're unproven. I think some Giant fans may be overrating them this year a little bit when I hear that they think they're going to be a top 7 or 8 secondary. But I do think that they have a lot of talent, and they're building something for the future. So yeah, that is probably the unit I'm most excited to see this year. That and the offensive line. I'm really excited to see the new rebuilt offensive line. I'm going to get Eagles UK. Eagles UK with a $5 donation. He says, I don't understand this dude's accent. He's just messing with you. And thank you very much for the love, man. I really appreciate it. Louis, I'm going to have you back on if you could stick around. I know it's late over there.
Yep.
I'm going to get Sean on the channel. Then we're going to get Mustafa. And I think I got another person in the chat here that maybe we'll bring on as well. But we're going to get Sean on next. Louis, thank you so much for talking for a bit. Thank you guys for asking great questions. We'll try to get to the chat as we go along, just trying to talk to my guests. And Louis, we'll talk to you soon.
See you in a bit.
All right. Let's get Sean on the stream.
Hey, Dana!
What's going on? Sean has been a long-time subscriber of mine. We were talking before the stream. He was actually the first guy to suggest me using the desk. I remember when he suggested that for me. Has always been a great supporter of my channel, so I was glad that you popped on the stream, and it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure getting to talk to you, man. And what's going on, buddy? How you doing?
The pleasure is all mine. And I got to say, man, I'm really impressed by Louis. I mean, linebackers are the weakness. Man, is he right? I'm so impressed. But, I got to say what your other guy said about the accent. He knows too much. He's got to be from Bayonne to do an accent.
But Sean, I'm gonna get you in 1 second. I just want to read this donation. He said, Ben says, just finished playing with my girl's bang hole. Couldn't miss the stream as always. Having a Sapporo Brilly. I love Sapporo. Great Japanese beer. Ben, man, thank you so much for the love. And Malik with the $5 donation. My guy, you got to reschedule these when I'm off work. Sorry, Malik, man. I'm sorry. I'm gonna try to do these going forward once a week, and whatever day works for you guys, that's the day I'll do it. But thank you to everybody for being here. Sean, the first thing I wanted to ask you is what I'm gonna ask everybody. When did you start becoming a Giants fan? What made you a Giants fan? And then we'll get it. And then you could ask me some questions as well. I know you told me you had some questions.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I'd say 2 letters made me a Giants fan. I was really into baseball as a kid. I think I got about like 15 years on you, but when growing up, I was really into baseball. I followed football, but I didn't really follow a team specifically until I heard of this player the Giants drafted named Lawrence Taylor. And then I started following them routinely, and then that was it from there. And so I've got to see 5 Super Bowls and 4 wins.
That's a pretty good track record. I've only gotten to see 2 of them, and that was a hell of a guy to start watching when you first started watching the New York Giants. I think Lawrence Taylor is a fan favorite for most people. I've only gotten to see highlights for the most part. Got to see him at the end of his career. PTA Sportsman, thanks so much for the love, man. He says, stand up. And out of those 4 Super Bowls, which one is your favorite?
Well, it has to be 2007. 2007 because it had been so long, since, the Parcells era and getting crushed by the Ravens in 2000. And when we got there so miraculously, to me, it was almost gravy because beating Dallas in the playoffs was just so awesome. I was like, okay, thank you, God. That's enough, So everything else was gravy. But I was in Disney World at that time, and I went through this toll booth or something in Florida, and this woman yells at me, and I'm like, what is she saying? So I stopped and said, yeah, and she goes, they got no chance, she says, because I was wearing my Giants t-shirt. I was like, oh yeah, right, okay, And so I heard that from everybody every step of the way. They were laughing at us, and then, as Michael Strahan said, we stomped them.
Yeah, that was the best after every game. We stomped you out. I'm completely with you on that on 07. We were talking about a little bit before we went live about it. Danilo, man, thanks so much for love, man. He says, as I told you on Insta, what you're doing is really cool. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate the love, man. Yeah, I'm gonna try to alternate, try to have different subscribers on every week, and hopefully this grows and people enjoy it. But we were talking a little bit before we came live about the 2007 Super Bowl, 2008 Super Bowl, I should say, reminiscent about, the good times. And I said it the second that game was over. I said, I love the New York Giants. I love all my teams. I am never going to have a feeling like this ever again. For one, it was my first. You got to see the other 2. It was my first championship I've ever seen any of my teams have. I'm a Mets fan. I'm a Knicks fan. But the method in which the New York Giants won that Super Bowl, and it wasn't just knocking off the undefeated Patriots. You got to take into account you had a quarterback who, going into the playoffs, half the Giants fan base wanted off the team. Right. And then he goes in there, a guy that nobody had any hopes for. Like you said, first off, he knocked off Garcia in Tampa. Mm-hmm. Then he goes to Dallas and he makes Terrell Owens cry. Then he goes into Green Bay, negative 32 degrees, wins that. And then he knocks off the undefeated Patriots in what may be the biggest upset in the history of football. That will never be topped. That will never be topped. That playoff.
Like this. Yeah. It was a drop the mic moment, man. It's you get to think, well, should I keep watching now? Because where do we go from there? But yeah, the deja vu all over again was definitely worth it as well.
Yeah, and 08, the 08 regular season at first doesn't shoot himself. That team was they were going back to back.
I think you're right because they had the D.
Yeah, they had the line too.
And Tuck, yeah, and right, and of course. Yeah, we still up until this year hadn't replaced, some of those guys like O'Hara and Snee and, some of the others. We just hadn't had a line. So this is going to be exciting.
Yeah. Like I said before, I think that is the unit I'm most excited about. A lot of people say the secondary is second for me, but the O-line, I'm an O-line guy. I love the Hogs. I think that's how you win football games, and I was glad that the New York Giants addressed it. But Sean, I know you told me you had some questions for me before you came on, so let's get to them.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I thought maybe some things we could talk about a little bit. So where's my first question? My first question is, do you see a lot of 3-3-5 this year? 3 safety defenses?
I do. I do think that the Giants are going to run a lot of 3 safety sets, especially with all the depth that they have in that secondary. I think they're going to show multiple looks, not to mention they don't really have great coverage linebackers. So I think the more DBs you could have out on the field, the better. I think it's going to help in coverage in third and long, second and long situations. So, yes, I think you will see a lot of 3 safety sets, and that being Julian Love in most of those packages.
I agree. That's my answer too. And I think Peppers, McKinney, and Love, you're going to see a lot of them on the field together because they can all do the same thing.
Yeah.
You change, and that's what Coach Judge says he wants. He wants players who can, be that, 4th linebacker, the 8-man in the box. He can be a coverage guy. He can be the, center fielder. They can all do that, I think, which makes them very versatile. And I think you'll see a lot of that. And plus, as our friend Louis mentioned, linebacker ain't our strong point. No.
Linebacker is that's definitely our weak point. Probably the weakest point on this roster. Samuel, man, thanks so much for love, man. He says, we'll both answer this. We'll feed off this.
Mm-hmm.
Is the loss of Zach Diassi going to hurt this team this year? Not just skill, but also presence in the locker room. I'll let you start with that.
Wait, he can come in the locker room,
Yeah. Yeah, he could come in the locker room. In terms of skill, he was. I hate to say this, Diassi. I love Diassi. He was a great Giant. Was a member of some of those teams.
That was too, yeah.
But he was bad last year. They had to replace him with 3 weeks to go, and they blamed a lot of Rosas' problems on him. So in terms of skill, I actually think they're better because they brought in Kreider, who's a former Pro Bowler 2 years ago as a long snapper. But in terms of a leader, I think that's a fair question to ask. He's been one of the leaders, like one of the captains for the New York Giants for a while, and a guy that they'll have to replace in that locker room.
It's important. I don't mean to belittle what he was saying. I just, I was just trying to be funny. Yeah.
No, I know. But in terms of skill, I actually think they upgraded.
All right. So here's my next question for you, Chris, Entertainer. Who do you think will be the best value pick of the latest draft? That is, for where they were drafted, how much over the next several years we'll look back and say, wow, we got a great player at that position in the draft?
That's a great question. And you could really go a lot of ways here. When you're talking value, and I love Andrew Thomas, I was ecstatic. He's out because that's right. It's not value. McKinney's definitely in the discussion because they got him in the second round. If he becomes one of the top 3-4 safeties in the league, he could very well be the answer there. Matt Parrott could be the answer. If Matt Parrott develops into being a top 8, 9, 10 tackle in the league, you got him in the 4th round, 99th pick overall. Yep. That would be an incredible value. Darnay Holmes, I think, is going to be the popular answer here, especially for this year's team. I think he is going to have an immediate impact over a guy like a Matt Parrott. And Shane Lemieux. And then there was a bunch of guys in the 6th and 7th round. Carter Coughlin, fan favorite in the 7th round, that could be great value as well. But if I had to pick one, I think Darnay Holmes is the safest pick. But if Shane Lemieux develops into being that stable guard and he replaces Zeitler in a couple of years or becomes that center, he might be the answer. A lot of these guys could be the answer. It's tough to say. That is a great question. McKinney could be the answer as well, like I said. But I'll go with Darnay Holmes. I love everything I've heard about him. He crosses off all the boxes for me. Seems like a great kid, hard worker, incredibly smart, athletic. He ran like a 4.48. He has everything you can want in a football player. Now he's going to be playing a position he's not really accustomed to. He's going to be, in the slot. He played on the outside at UCLA. But if I had to pick one, I'd pick Darnay Holmes.
That was my answer too.
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking it might be Parrott, but not immediately. But I don't know what it is about Darnay Holmes. Something right here that just tells me he's going to be great. And we're going to go, oh my gosh, can you believe we got Darnay Holmes in the 4th round? I think there's going to be those. It's just a feel thing. So
I'm with you on Darnay. Darnay Holmes is one of my favorite players they drafted. And MYG31, man, thanks so much for the love, man. He says, sup, Entertainer, can I come in the chat? Next time around, I'll have you on the chat. I try to have these preset, but I'll have you on next show, MYG31. We're going to get Heartstorm Media on next. But go ahead with your next question, Sean.
Okay. Gettleman, good, bad, or ugly?
I would be willing to bet 80 people in my chat right now to the 150 or so would say ugly. If you watch my channel, I'm a Gettleman guy. Now, I'm not going to go as far to say over the top good, but I try to defend him for the he does do silly things. I can't defend the Leo Williams trade. He's done some silly things. There's no doubt about it. But I try to defend Gettleman because I think Gettleman gets a lot more hate than he deserves by the New York media and the fans in general. I think you have to take into account the situation he inherited. He inherited a team with no cap space, aging veterans. He blew the team up. So I like that Gettleman has done what I wanted him to do in terms of drafting. That's what we needed. We needed an influx of young talent, and he's done that for this football team. And when you're a rebuilding football team, that's where you need the most attention. And the Giants have drafted, even the biggest Gettleman hater would tell you that Gettleman's been pretty good in terms of drafting. So if this draft class pans out the way we think, I'm a Gettleman guy. I think Gettleman's done a good enough job to at least rebuild this roster, which is what we brought him here to do.
I'm with you. I'm going with good too. I mean, I'm of the opinion that trade for Leo Williams is looking better every day. Every day that passes, it's looking better and better. And there's a lot of little things that he's done that I think might pan out and we'll go, whoa, after a while. I mean, the draft has been light years ahead of Jerry Reese. I mean, light years ahead of Jerry Reese. And things like the Golden contract, the Marcus Golden contract. Think about it this way. With his numbers and his money where it's at, he could be awesome trade bait right before the season. You know what I mean? For somebody who's looking for a pass rusher and we need, I don't know, a center to, to move things around. I think that he's, and for the thing I really like about Gettleman is I like our team. I mean, I saw it when, The Bachelor was the quarterback, and I was like,
oh God. Yeah.
And here's an interesting fact, and this is mind-blowing when you think about it, but that team, the year before we drafted Eli, did not have one touchdown to a wide receiver all season.
Wow.
Believe it or not, but it's true. And, I just like our team. I like the coach that he has. I like the players. I really hope, that we come to find this Baker thing is, not, the worst, but it's, it's something that can, be explained, and but I don't. Let me segue to it. Do we have time for one more question?
Yeah.
All right. Tana, if it is acknowledged as fact, now I know, all of us jumped on him, and I was guilty of that, and I kind of feel bad, because we were all, as soon as
I think most fans, because we heard all the witnesses, I think you're going with
right.
DeAndre.
It was poured on really heavy, but
yeah.
If it's acknowledged as fact that Baker did, in fact, brandish a piece and demand money in a public party, do you want him back on the team, even if he's acquitted, even if there's no charges?
I mean, in my opinion, if that were to be proven,
right,
he's going to jail. I can't imagine if it was proven that he brought a gun and he threatened people, which is essentially what you're saying. I would think he'd go to jail. So in that case, I would say, no, he's off the team. I think he goes to jail. But if he weren't to go to jail, I think he definitely at least gets suspended by the league. But I honestly don't think, from everything I've heard, I really don't think, and maybe he did some of the stuff that he was accused of, maybe he didn't. Right. I don't think there's any evidence. I don't think there's any proof. You heard all five witnesses, whether some people may want to believe they were paid off, whatever, they've all recanted their statements. Right. So there's nothing there. There's no, from the sounds of it, there's no case. So if there's no case in this country, you're innocent till proven guilty. Like you said, I was just as guilty as you for jumping on it. I think DeAndre Baker is going to be playing. Well, we have to wait and see how the case plays out in terms of how long it takes for him to get acquitted. But I think DeAndre Baker will be a New York Giant this year. The only question is, does the league suspend him? I hope that's not the case if he's ruled innocent. But yeah, I'm actually looking forward to. I was looking forward to Baker. Let's hope he's on the team this year. But I think he's in for a big year. I think he fits this defense very nicely. They won't ask him to play zone as much as last year. I think he's gonna have a good year.
He's a cover guy, absolutely. And my only fear is that if he did do something like that and then did get away with it, I don't know. It just seems like he's on the road to Aaron Hernandez town, And I just, you don't want somebody like running around, brandishing guns at people,
Oh, of course not. Yeah.
So hopefully that's all not true. I pray for him and his family, and and everybody. He's a young man. Hopefully he didn't make that choice, and
I'm with you. And if
you're at 22, you know what I mean. So yeah.
And if he's innocent, or if he's proven not guilty, hopefully it was just a mistake, or he put himself. To me, he put himself in a bad situation. It was a pandemic thing. So hopefully he learns from that. He grows from it. You've seen that he's been working harder, and he becomes a better person and player because of it. That's the hope. And then it looks as if it may be the case. We got a quick question for you from Independent Outsider with the $2 donation. He says, if Gettleman retires, who replaces him? For Sean.
Eli Manning. No, no, I think Ernie Accorsi was so key in putting together the Eli Manning team. And Jerry Reese had some good picks. But he had some really bad ones, just like first round players who just turned out to nothing, like right in a row. So I would really, if Gettleman's not there, I mean, man, we have gotten folks who have not been following this for a long time. He's drafting extremely well than what we've seen in the last 10 years. I mean, you have all these years and you look at the drafts and you go, oh my God, we could have had this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, and I don't see that with Gettleman. I mean, this year we got the best tackle, the best safety, the best slot corner, and in the draft. It's amazing what he does. So I'm sorry, I don't really have an answer because I don't know enough about people in but hopefully someone who can draft as well as him. That's how I would answer that.
My answer to that, independent, is I think it would be in-house. I think it would be Abrams, who is one of he's upper management with the New York Giants. I think the Giants would do something similar to what they did with Accorsi. They went to Reese, who was in-house. I don't think they'd look to break up this rebuild. And if you were to bring in another general manager he could have a completely different mindset in terms of what quarterback he wants, everything else. That's what I worry about as a New York Giant fan. And that's why I think if they were to move on from Gettleman, they keep it in-house. And maybe they give Joe Judge a little bit more personnel say. Abrams more of the financial guy, stuff like that. So my answer would be Abrams. I think the Giants would stay in-house if they were to move on from Dave Gettleman.
I just hope they don't change because, I mean, it's like we're turning into the Knicks, It's like, this merry-go-round of people coming and going. It's like it's never good.
Exactly.
You see a great organization that does that. Ever.
You don't want a lot of turnover. That's for damn sure. And OGR, man, thanks so much for love. I appreciate it. If you guys haven't done so, go on over, check out OGR Sports. He says, my man, great idea. Love the subscriber-only stream. Cheers, my friend. Yeah, I'm going to do this once a week, man. And thank you, OGR, so much. But Sean, I'm going to have you back on probably about 20 minutes. I want to get Mustafa from Hearthstone Media on. But thank you so much for the great questions, the great input. I really appreciate it.
It's so much fun. Thank you for having me, man.
You got it. I'll see you soon.
All right.
All right. And let's get Mustafa from Hearthstone Media. Thank you to everybody for being here. I appreciate it. If you guys have never seen him, he's got a YouTube channel, Hearthstone Media. He does some Giants content. He does some movie reviews. I'm a huge movie fan, so once in a while I check out those videos. But Mustafa, man, I want to say thank you for coming on the channel, and let's talk some Giants football.
Appreciate it for having me, Chris. First, I want to say I love the Stormtrooper Cup. I noticed that. And second, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, if nobody knows, so I love the Stormtrooper Cup. I want to piggyback off something that Sean said and probably touch on something that Louis said too. First, my best value pick, I'm looking at Shane Lemieux as my value pick because if you can get a guy in the 5th round to potentially start, he could start for us this year. If he can start and be solid for the next 4 or 5 years, that's all you really want to get out of a 5th round. You get 4 or 5 years out of a guy, and I think, if he comes in as guard and then moves over to center, that's a 4 or 5 year guy. In 3 of those years, we're going to be paying him nothing. So that is the huge value. If he doesn't have to make the Pro Bowl for us, he's got to be solid at a contract that's paying him. I hate to say it, I feel sorry for the guy. $400,000 or $500,000 a year.
Same thing with Slayton. Same thing.
Same thing with Slayton. That's the value. So I did have a couple of questions for you. For one, really appreciate this. I mean, I love your content. Watch you all the time. I watch you more than I watch actual New York Giant YouTube page, which I discovered you about 2 years ago. So I've been watching you now for about 2 years. And I watch you more than I watch most any Giants content. And I've discovered a lot of Giants YouTubers from watching your show, like OGR and then Fireside and then Bad Dog. How long have you been doing this?
I really appreciate that, first off, Hearthstone Media. And I watch your channel. I honestly think your channel is underrated. You're new. I know you're just putting stuff out, but your channel is going to grow. You got great graphics. I enjoy it. You're one of the channels I watch more than anybody, to be honest with you. I think you do a great job, and I'm looking forward to having you back on the channel whenever. As far as how long I've been doing this, not that long. Probably since you've been watching, for the most part. I started May, right after the draft when we took Barkley. So that's when I first started on YouTube. I first started taking it seriously around the beginning of the season. So September of 2018. So it's been Almost 2 years. At the start of the season, it'll be about 2 years where I've really taken it seriously.
I would have really thought you've been doing this for about 5 or 10 years. Easy.
I
Like you and
appreciate
Bad Dog. And you and Bad Dog been doing about the same amount of time? Bad Dog's been
Bad
here
Dog
longer?
has been on YouTube for like a decade, but he's been on and off. He's only taken his
Okay.
channel. He was in a different avenue. He's he's maybe a year longer than me in terms of what he's been doing now.
Okay. That's why him and Cop Pizzle had the Godfather beef.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to talk about. I mean, I like his channel. I'm subscribed to his channel, so I watch some of his content. Is it Pizzle or is it Cop Pizzle? Which is?
I think it's Cop Pizzle. I think I just call him Pizzle. I call him Pizzle.
Okay, I just call him. Yeah, I'm gonna just call him Pizzle now. So on the Giants. So first, I want to tell anybody that's watching me. I'm from North New Jersey. I'm not a New Yorker, but I'm close enough to being a New Yorker. And I grew up watching Giants. I think I made a video about this actually when I actually fell in love with the Giants about 86. I really started watching Giants. I guess I was about eight years old then. My favorite player back then was Mark Bavaro, which that's the talked about in another video. Mark Bavaro and Rodney Hampton. I grew up through that era, and even like we were known for our defense back then, but I generated to the offensive players. And I mean, who can't love Mark Bavaro after seeing Mark Bavaro? You ever saw Mark Bavaro play? For younger Giants fans out there, if you haven't seen Mark Bavaro play, go find some footage. That is the epitome of what the Giants is, even more than Lawrence Taylor. Go watch Mark Bavaro. That's the epitome of New York Football Giants. And I mean, I've always been a diehard Giants fan. I'm a Yankees fan. I'm a Knicks fan. But I wanted to share this like really quick. I gained a whole new appreciation for my team. I was going through, I hate to say it, depression, because I don't really feel. I was going through like a mild case of situational depression.
Okay.
When we made our first Super Bowl, when we beat those undefeated Patriots. And I remember being so down as we went into the playoffs, and then to watch my team go on the road and win 1, 2, 3 games, and then go beat the New England Patriots when nobody gave us a shot other than Michael Strahan. I don't even think half of the Giants players might have thought we were going to win that game.
Definitely not.
I snapped out of what I was going through like that. And it was like, for anybody to wonder why we love these teams the way we do, that's my reason for why I love my Giants. And I loved them before, but it gave me a whole new appreciation just watching them persevere through that. I was like, oh, this little thing I'm going through, I can get through this. So for any, quick little story out there of why I love my Giants and how I started kind of making Giants videos really was from watching your videos and having so many things I wanted to say in the comments. And I was like, I'll look like a crazy person if I'm commenting. I don't want to comment 10 times in a video. So I said, I'll make a video, and maybe somebody want to listen to it. And first couple of videos I made, nobody was listening. I might have had some videos where I got maybe 15 or 20 views. But I said, as long as I can talk about the Giants all day. So it doesn't bother me to make a video and nobody watch, because I enjoy making the video. Talk about my team. So
yeah, I mean that's what YouTube's all about, man. And thank you so much, PTA Sports, man. He's got a channel as well. He was on the channel. Thank you for the $2 donation. He says just earned a sub jersey. Stand up, man. PTA Sports, thank you so much for the love. And he just subscribed to your channel. But as far as that go, I mean, yeah, I'm completely with you. The magical run, it was like something that you wouldn't even believe if it was in a movie. I mean, that's how magical it was, and it was incredible. And even like now, I think is a time where you really realize how much you appreciate not just the Giants, but just sports in general. I miss baseball. I miss basketball. I miss everything. And it really does make you realize how important. I mean, even though in the grand scheme of things, it's not that important, but in a way it is, to get your mind off the things that are really important in this country. Yeah,
you're right. And that's like sports has gotten us through a lot of things as a country, as a society. Sometimes it can unify, sometimes it can divide. When the Giants are scoring a touchdown in the stadium, race doesn't have a part.
Right.
Nobody's going to high five somebody and say, "Oh wait, black guy, white guy."
Right,
Nobody's doing that when the Giants score. Too bad it can't be like that in real life all the time. And in times like during the DeAndre Baker thing, I saw in some of my Giants Facebook groups that I'm in. I'm in the group New York Giants for Life on Facebook. If anybody is, I've been trying to get people that's in that group because we got about 17,000 members in that group kind of introduced to your channel. I've shared a couple of videos in the group, and it's another Giants group I'm in, and I give them shout out sometime. It was a lot of divide going on when the DeAndre Baker thing first kicked off. Some, like I gave my perspective on it because a lot of things is about perspective. I don't think everything that we deal with as sports fans, especially as sports fans, is really as sports fans. It's not about knowledge. It's not about you knowing more about the Giants than I do, or me knowing more about. It's about the perspective. So when somebody asks Sean the question of what's your value pick, his perspective on his take on the Giants gave him the idea that that was Darnay Holmes was his value pick.
Right.
And so we just have different perspectives. So if I can come to you and say, well, this is why I believe that we should have took Isaiah Simmons in the draft. It's like, look, I'm going to share with you my perspective on that. And I mean, I still go back to watching you guys. Like, it was the first time I ever watched the draft the way I did. I watched our pick, as you say, my video from you and Bad Dogs live stream. And then I recorded my reaction. But I don't know if I did it because I wanted to record my reaction or if I really just wanted to watch your reaction.
Right.
So it made me feel like I was a part of something opposed to just watching it at home on my TV. And because, again, I'm a Giants fan that's displaced. I'm in Atlanta now. It's hard to find those groups. If I was back home in Jersey, I can go to any bar or restaurant and just be surrounded by Giants fans. Here, I'm not. I got to find one. And it's no fun being you know what? It's not that bad being around Falcons fans because the Falcons suck. So
yeah, they do. Right now they do.
Yeah. I mean, just in history.
Well, historically they do too.
Yeah, historically.
Even when they make a Super Bowl, they blow a 25 point lead.
Yeah. I'll give you one really quick story. I went to the Falcons game a couple of years ago. This was in the game that we had the kicker issues, not the recent kicker issues. The kicker issue before that, we had a guy that couldn't kick 30 yards. Can't remember his name, right? But we play against the Falcons. They actually shut us out because we got to a point in the season we couldn't kick. So we were really going for it on fourth down. Every time we got within 30, our guy just went bananas that year. I guess it's about 4 or 5 years ago, maybe, right? So I go to the game, and a guy I knew had season tickets. So he always, he was a business guy, so he sold his season tickets to the opposing team all the time. So whenever you sat in his box area, you were going to be surrounded by Falcons fans. So when I got there, I got my little eye black on, my girls got her Giant stuff on, and they're like, oh man, I guess he sold his tickets to the opposing team again. So they were heckling us all game, right? And we got blown out. They beat us, I think, 34-0, right? So while we're leaving, all of these Falcons fans, because I stayed to the very end, I stayed to the last second, even though we were getting blown out. So I'm walking out, and the people are holding up these zeros. They're like, we blew a zero. So I stopped and I told the whole mezzanine of Falcons fans, I said, what does the zero stand for? That stand for the number of championships you guys got? Because I unless you're focused on the score. And then I say, you know what, you guys should decorate and get some banners, some Hall of Fame guys up here, because I don't really see a lot of those things hanging up. I don't see a lot of numbers retired. I said, I see Dion's number, but he won a championship with 2 other teams. I don't know his name up there. And then I said, man, you know what? I just realized, you know what Falcons stand for? Fans always left counting on next season. And then I walked up.
Good
and
stuff.
I told my girl, I said, yeah, they won the battle, but we won the war. So
we beat them when it counted in the play. I think it was 29-2.
Exactly. We beat them when it counted. They scored 2 points on us that we gave them a safety.
Yeah.
So we smashed them. That was the game that I thought that the Falcons thought that Matt Ryan was like Joe Montana. They had Matt Ryan calling his own plays on the line of scrimmage against the best front four in football at the time. So I don't know what they were thinking about. But really quick, I can say a couple of things about this coming season. I am super excited about this season. I believe that, again, we differ on this. I think we're a 9-win team. I think we're an 8-win team at the lowest. I think we're a 9-win team. Somewhere along the line, we can sneak in 10 games. I'm not foreseeing that or predicting that, but I think we can play. A lot depends on Pittsburgh game. And I was going to actually do a video on this. What do you think is going to happen if we blow Pittsburgh out in the first game? Or even if we score 30, if we beat them 30-20,
Right.
how do you think the tide is going to shift from the sports media that, wants to not have any one of our players in the top 50? So you got PFF. Then you got ESPN, who, thinks we're going to win 3 games. You got Nick Wright, who thinks we're going to win 2 games. You got Stephen A. Smith, the fakest, phoniest Giants fan ever, who thinks we're going to win 3 games. What do you think is going to happen if we blow Pittsburgh out week 1?
That's a great question. And I'm going to get to you guys' donations in 1 second. I want to answer this one. If we blow Pittsburgh out week 1, I am still going to be a little conservative. I'm still going to say I need to see a little bit more. I got to see 2 or 3 more weeks. But I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to be very optimistic. If we go out there, we put up 30 on what I think is one of the top 8-9 defenses in the league. Then we got the Bears on deck, a team that is beatable, even though it's in Chicago. If we could ever start 2-0, if we win this game. This is a situation where you're saying we win. I'm going to that Chicago game saying if we could beat Chicago and get to 2-0, we probably got at least a 50% chance to go to the playoffs. So that's what I'll say. I'll be a lot more optimistic of our playoff possibilities, even though the schedule is definitely very hard after that. The next 3 games, you've got the Niners, at the Rams, and at the Cowboys. You have to find a way to win one of those 3. But, yeah, if we win that game, it gets the team off on the right start. I can't remember the last time the Giants won opening week. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's because we keep playing the Cowboys.
Yeah, we keep playing. We do. We keep playing the Cowboys. But I do think that is a game we have a better chance than what the media is saying. I do think that the Giants at home, Joe Judge's first game, I think the team's going to be amped up. I do think we have at least a 40-45% chance to win that game.
All right. So I know you had to go to the
Yeah. Let me get those real quick. Harrison, all the way from New Zealand. Thanks so much for love, man. He says, thoughts on episode 9, Hearthstone. Personally, I love it. He's talking about Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. All right, really quick. I was conflicted. I like a lot of the stuff that J.J. Abrams did. I wish he didn't have to reboot some of the things that Rian Johnson did and Kathleen Kennedy allowed Rian Johnson to do. I wasn't disappointed in the movie. I enjoyed it. It is the only Star Wars movie to date that I don't own yet, so I haven't purchased it yet. So I guess I'm on the fence. I did go see it in the theaters twice, which I do go see all Star Wars movies in theaters twice. And but I loved a lot of the things that JJ was able to do, the lightsaber battles, the Kylo Ren. I like the romance. I'm glad it didn't turn out too corny. So yeah, I'm on board for episode 9. Definitely like it more than episode 8, even though I like the few things in episode 8. I just really like what Rian Johnson did with The Force Awakens, and I hated the fact that I like what J.J. Abrams did with Force Awakens, and I hated the fact that Rian Johnson and Kathleen Kennedy just was like, oh, you know what, that was cool, but F it.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah, I'm with you on episode 8. Episode 8 to me was incredibly disappointing. Episode 9 was definitely an improvement. Rogue One's my favorite Star Wars movie. I loved Rogue One, even though that's not connected to the series. I'm a Lord of the Rings guy first. Lord of the Rings is my favorite trilogy of all time, but I do love Star Wars. But I'm with you. I think episode 9 was pretty good. But the eighth was Blue Collar, man, thanks so much for love. I appreciate it. He says, great job, Louis and Sean. Sean, G-Men record next year. Sean's not on the he's gonna pop back up on the round table, and we'll get everybody's opinion on the record next year. And Samuel Weber, thank you so much for love, man. He says, who did you guys learn from to become skilled content creators? I'm a mass media student at my college and stand up Garden State. And I'll get that one second. Independent Outsider says, one more sub, brother. My favorite New York Giant, Phil McConkey. Thank you very much.
Phil McConkey, wow.
Yeah. He's a fan favorite by a lot of people. In terms of who I learned from to be a good content creator, I don't think I learned from anybody. I think like anything else, it's like riding a bike. I just went on and just talked Giants. And, I did when I first started, people ask me this all the time. I was trying to do something as a hobby, something for fun, something to get my mind off things. I was going, not so much depression, but I was going through a bad breakup. And I was looking to do something, talk about something that I love to do. And that's my first suggestion to everybody on YouTube. If you're not going to be talking about something that you love to do, don't do it. Because people are going to be able to tell. They're going to be able to read right through you. I mean, obviously, I watch other content creators, and maybe subliminally I pick up on some certain things, how they do things. But I just was myself. That's the most important thing on YouTube.
Oh, and for me, when it comes to talking Giants, I actually did learn some things from watching you. You have a good confidence and presence on screen, and you always seem really prepared. As far as other things, I would say check out Nick Nimmin and D Nimmin on YouTube if you're actually trying to learn how to be a YouTuber. They gave me some great tips on content creating, and I think once I got comfortable with being me, and just like you said, if I'm talking about the Giants, my video is on point. When I start talking about other things, then it seems a little more scripted. So, and then it just was like being prepared, like knowing what you're talking about, maybe doing a little research on a certain topic. Like I wanted to do a James Jones video, like I told you in the comments. I just don't want to do the homework. I don't want to have to research all of these other quarterbacks and then keep it in cap enough to be able to just talk about it without stopping and cutting and stopping. So it's like, oh man, that's like work. So, but this is easy.
Yeah, it's like anything else. It's when I first started, I used to edit everything. I would, because I wasn't good on camera. I did a lot of research, and then I would talk about it, but I would stop every 30 seconds. Then I'd be like, now it's just go with the flow. It's like anything else. Yeah. The more you do it, the better you get. But just do something you love to do, man. That's always been my suggestion with YouTube. And like I said, the people will know. They could tell. At least I can as a consumer. When I watch somebody, I could tell if they're actually doing it because they love it or they're doing it, I don't know, because they feel like that they can gain subscribers by doing it, I guess. But yeah, that's my take on it. But we're going to bring Sean back on. We're going to bring Louie back on. We're going to have a roundtable discussion. We're going to focus a little bit more on the chat, answer some of your guys' questions. And let's bring Sean.
You don't have a charger for my phone, do you?
What's up? Hey, Tana.
Nope. Nah, you don't got no clue.
Talk about Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, and I'm with you. Rogue One, my favorite. But I don't know. Is it okay if I do a shameless plug while I'm here?
Are you kidding me? Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
I am a YouTuber. I am, but I don't do sports. I wrote a book, which is like if you guys are fans of Lord of the Rings and the Avengers and that kind of a thing.
Definitely.
My pen name is Conway Fitzgerald. The story is The Giant Killers. I know it sounds funny since I'm a Giants fan that I would have a title like that, but I'm talking about like mythical giants, And so if any of you guys are interested in that sort of a thing, I'm producing an audiobook on YouTube. Can you see that?
Okay, I'll search you. I got you.
Yeah, all right. That's my shameless plug. Thank you, Tana.
Yeah, cool stuff. No, cool stuff, man. No, I am a huge that Lord of the Rings is my favorite movie of all time. I've probably seen each one like 9 times. I'm a huge.
Yeah, I watched them. Yeah, I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan too. I watched all of them. I'm into fantasy and stuff like that. So,
well, then you guys will love it. You guys will love it. It's serious. Like I'm trying to write something that Hollywood will take over. As the next Game of Thrones, it's got a little bit of an edge, and I have a great ending. It's not a ridiculous ending.
Well, congrats, man! You're better than me. I wanted to write a fantasy before. I just don't have the patience.
I heard that Amazon. I don't know if it's official yet. I heard that Amazon's actually going to make a Lord of the Rings series.
Yes, they have a cooking channel they're developing.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that. I'm excited for that. What about you, Louie? You Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or movie guy?
I think I'd take Lord of the Rings over Star Wars.
Yeah,
but I'm more of an Avengers, Spider-Man, Batman kind of guy.
Yeah, the younger generation is definitely into the Marvel for sure. I love Marvel. It's a little played out for me. I love Marvel, but I'm kind of like waiting for the new, I guess, thing because Marvel.
Yeah.
I want to say too, man. Louis really knows his stuff. That young man has been paying attention. He has some really good takes. He has some really good takes, man.
Yeah. I thought it'd be cool to get a UK fan on. I want to try to get a UK fan on once a week on these because just to get a different perspective, I guess, because you don't get to, obviously being in the States, we really get to talk to people from the UK about the Giants. So I thought it'd be a cool idea. But guys, we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna take some of your questions, then we're just gonna kind of feed off of it. So guys, go ahead and ask your questions. I'll try to scan the chat. We're getting a lot of movie talk, obviously, right now. Let's see what we got here. The New York Jets. Let's see. Stand up. What's going on, Pasha? Thanks for popping in the stream, man. The Steelers are going to walk into a butt. We'll see about that. I can't wait for the next draft. We could fill in. Yeah. Go ahead, ask you until they ask the questions. I'm gonna. All right. I haven't watched. You gotta watch Lord of the Rings, New Jersey, Jake. All right. So okay, here we go. Who would you guys say is the best receiver Eli Manning ever played with?
Ooh. Oh, Monty Toomer. Come on.
I was going that way too.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You know what? I'll give you one. You might lose me, guys, because my phone is like dying and I'm not at home right now. Plaxico Burress, even though he only had him for a small period of time, Plax was really, really, really good in that small period of time. And maybe Hakeem Nicks was better than Toomer, but just Toomer did it way longer with a lot of class. So maybe Hakeem Nicks. I remember them hands. Hakeem Nicks never dropped anything.
Yeah.
His hands were huge.
Yeah.
But go ahead, guys. What's your take?
Am I up?
Yeah, go ahead, Sean.
Is it Louis? Okay. Oh well, if it's me, then I was thinking of Monty Toomer, and Plex is he's the TD machine that Eli really relied on. But I'm gonna go a little different. I'm gonna go with Steven Smith.
Wow.
He had 1 year where where Eli just made him into a superstar, and the Eagles tried to take him away from us, and then he wasn't quite the same. But that would be my favorite Eli Manning receiver.
Okay, yeah, Steve Smith definitely had I think he still holds the record, or I think he still holds the record for most catches in a season by a New York Giant. Louis, what about you?
I mean, you've got Victor Cruz, you've got Monty Toomer, Plaxico Burress. I think some people could make the argument for Odell Beckham, but I mean, obviously that didn't last very long, which is, in my opinion, a good thing. I think we were talking about Cam Newton earlier on, and how when he starts to lose, he has a towel over his head, not really got the best attitude towards the game. And I think that's what a lot of Odell Beckham had. So I think if he hadn't have been that, maybe he could have been one of the best Giants receivers to ever do it. But I think, Amani Toomer's got to be it, I think.
That's a great question that he asked, because you could take that question and go a lot of different ways. I love Toomer. Toomer's the greatest Giant receiver ever in terms of a career. But I don't know if he's the greatest that ever played with Eli Manning. It's tough. Burress was the best receiver on the team when they won the first Super Bowl, and he was definitely instrumental in the growth of Eli Manning. They brought him in Eli Manning's second year. Victor Cruz had the greatest year ever by any Giants receiver, period, and was just as important for that second Super Bowl as Eli Manning was. He was incredible that year. So he's another guy that you could definitely consider. Hakeem Nicks, like Hearthstone Media said before he conked out, was unbelievable for the 2 or 3 years before he suffered injuries. And Odell Beckham was great, even though it was in the twilight of Eli Manning's career. Yeah, he was unbelievable. In terms of a talent, I'd have to go with Odell Beckham. I think Odell Beckham is the most talented wide receiver that Eli Manning ever played with. But I think I'll go with Burress, just because Burress was there for that first Super Bowl, even though he shot himself. He cost us the second one, was instrumental in the growth of Eli Manning early on. I think I'll go with Burress. I think Beckham's the most talented, but I think I'll go with Burress for helping Eli Manning early on and developing him as a quarterback. But you go a lot of ways there. You go Cruz, you go Beckham, you go Nicks, you go Toomer. But I would go with Burress. But good question there. Nikki says, thoughts on the Garrett hire? We'll start with you, Sean. What do you think of Jason Garrett as the offensive coordinator?
I love it. I personally love it because I just think, and Kerry Collins, I don't know if you saw this, but he had a quote about it. Did you report on that?
Yeah.
You did, right? Yeah, okay. And Kerry Collins was just raving about how perfect Garrett was for DJ, getting started. And that's all I had to hear. Do you know what I mean? It's like if somebody has no real business in it, but they know the guy, they've worked with the guy, and he's been so successful. I don't know. I think I'm really excited. I haven't seen our team look this promising, especially from the coaching perspective, in a very long time. I really hope I'm not disappointed, but I think, I was not thrilled with Shermer, and I was not thrilled. It just seemed like, we've been adrift for a little while, so this feels good.
Yeah. So you're a big. What about you, Louis? What do you think of Garrett coming over to the New York Giants?
I think when you've got a strong running back and you've got a fantastic receiving tight end, and you mix them with a playbook that for so long included the same thing for the Cowboys with Jason Witten and Ezekiel Elliott, I think that can only mean good. And if Daniel Jones can perfect that, I think there's not a bad thing about it. If they can consistently do that, I don't see a problem with it.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think they drafted specifically because they brought Jason Garrett in, because you need a strong offensive line to be throwing more vertical balls down the field. I think that was a major reason why the Giants really hit home with that offensive line, because they see that going forward. I think Jones fits this offense well. He was very accurate with deep ball throws. I've talked about it numerous times last year. Now, I can't get on Garrett because they were going to need to bring in a new offensive coordinator no matter what. So I would have said this regardless of who the offensive coordinator was. Jones may struggle early on because it's a new system, the shortened offseason, everything else. May take him 3 or 4 games to get acclimated to the system, but I think fans got to be patient with that and realize that if he does struggle his first 3 or 4 starts. But I do think that it is a good fit. And you look at Jason Garrett, I say it all the time. He was a great offensive coordinator with the Dallas Cowboys. It's why he became a head coach. Was a very good play caller. Tony Romo was an undrafted quarterback. He's a borderline Hall of Famer. Under Jason Garrett, he put up great numbers, and the same can be said for Dak Prescott. So I think Garrett is going to bring stability. I think he's going to bring a guy that's been around this league for a long time. He's a very smart mind, and I think he's going to get a lot out of Daniel Jones. So I was a big fan of the Garrett hire when they made it, and I'm still a big fan of it. I do like the Jason Garrett hire. The only thing that I guess you could question, I made a video on this a couple of days ago, will he be one and done? If Daniel Jones has that huge year and takes that huge step forward, say he throws 35 touchdowns, he's a Pro Bowler, the Giants win 9 games, we get to the playoffs, does Jason Garrett leave then? And then was it the right hire? Because you clearly have a guy who's trying to get back to being a head coach, and he's going to jump at the first. Well, not the first, but if he gets a good opportunity, he's going to jump at it. And I can't blame Garrett for that. Every coach would do that. Obviously, they're all trying to be head coaches, but then you're asking Jones to learn a third system in 3 years. That's the only thing, in my opinion, if you want to nitpick, that you could say maybe you don't like about the Garrett hire, because he's a even though we pick on him, he definitely underachieved with Dallas. He's a guy that was a head coach in the league for a long time, and he could get an opportunity quickly if he does a good job with Daniel Jones. But overall, I really do like the hire. Mm-hmm. And Danilo, man, thanks so much for that, man. I really appreciate it. He says, how many Giants Pro Bowlers this year? I'll start with you, Sean. Go ahead.
Starting?
Yeah.
Or just making the team?
Just making the team. How many Giants Pro Bowlers make the team this year?
I'll go out on a limb, and I'm going to say that Bradbury is going to make the Pro Bowl. He's going to turn out to be probably the best free agent signing the Giants have had in a decade.
You're that high on him.
I just think I watched some film on him. I saw a talk about him, and he did great as the number 1 corner for Carolina against probably the best division wide receiving core that there is. I mean, you look at Tampa, and everybody else is in the South. He got to go against Drew Brees and Thomas, and and he was playing them great. So I don't know. I think Bradbury could definitely make a Pro Bowl. And then somebody in the defensive, one of the defensive tackles. I'll go out on a limb. I'll say Big Cat has a breakout year and makes a Pro Bowl again. How about that?
All right, so you're going with no Saquon.
Oh, definitely. I'm sorry. I was totally thinking defense. Gosh, what am I saying? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Saquon Barkley, Evan Ingram, definitely. And yeah, Daniel Jones makes the B team.
He's got 5 Giant Pro Bowls. What about you, Louis? What do you think?
I couldn't agree more with Bradbury. I've watched so much film on him, and I'm really excited to see what he can do. I definitely think he's going to be one. Saquon, I think that's a given. But if he can not get injured, if he can stay healthy, maybe Slayton if he has a breakout year. I'd say 3 or 4, depending on if Jones can step up as well. 3 or 4.
Yeah, I'll go Barkley. I think Barkley, if he plays 16 games, he's a given. I think he's going. If Ingram plays 16 games, like I said in my video today, I think he's going. Of all the pass catchers, I think he has the best opportunity. Just because I think there's a lot of, even though I'm a big Slayton guy this year, I think Slayton fits this offense nicely. I just think there's so much competition in the NFC at that wide receiver position. Like you just said, just look at the NFC South. I mean, you got a bunch of guys on Tampa. You got So it's just tough, I think, for Slayton to make the Pro Bowl, even though he may put up 1,100 yards and have a really strong season. I think Ingram has the best chance in terms of a pass catcher. In terms of the offensive line, I love Andrew Thomas, but I think it's going to be hard for a rookie tackle. So on the offense, I think Barkley and Ingram are the two most likely guys that can make a Pro Bowl. And then on the defense, there's a lot of guys. I'm going to say one of them makes it. It could be Peppers. It could be Leonard Williams. It could be Dexter Lawrence. It could be Bradbury. I'm going to say one of those guys makes it, and maybe a guy in special teams. Obviously, that's what this team is known for. They got a head coach who was a great special teams coordinator. They had a great special teams coordinator last year. They bring in Nate Ebner. I'll say one guy, a special teams guy, makes the Pro Bowl for the New York Giants. So I'll say three or four. I'll go with. But thank you so much, love. I appreciate it. Blue Collar with what's going on, man? Thank you so much for the $2 donation. He says, Hart, great job too. I just subbed. Hart left. His internet froze. He said, "Are you a Trekkie?" I am not a Trekkie.
Oh yeah,
you are.
I'm a huge Gene Roddenberry and like you, Stan Lee fan. I'm a certified nerd growing up, but I played sports. I loved it. But I loved Star Trek. I just thought that the whole concept, it's just awesome. Yeah.
I've seen the new ones. I've seen the old ones too, but I was a kid. I probably should go back and watch them. The new ones were good.
They're all on Netflix if you want to watch the old ones. There's not a bad one. They're all funny and fun to watch. They're all
I'm sure they are. What about you, Louis? You ever get into Star Trek at all?
Not really. I think when I was younger, I was definitely more Star Wars than Star Trek, and then as I've grown up, I've never really got into Star Trek. I think if I'd watched it, probably. Yeah. But I've always been a massive nerd about superheroes and comics.
I hear you.
So I think if I got into it younger, I think I definitely would have been obsessed with it. But no, I've never really got into it.
I hear you. Danny, man, thanks so much for the love, man. He says Barkley, Ingram, Peppers, Bradbury, Pro Bowl. It's possible. That'd be 4 Pro Bowlers. I think Barkley's the most logical. I think most Giant fans are going to pick Barkley. And if Ingram plays 16 games this year, he's going to the Pro Bowl. I'll say that right now. If he doesn't get hurt, he's going to the Pro Bowl. I think he's going to have a very good year. That's a locked in prediction. The question is, can he play 16 games? We have not seen that yet. The guy's missed 14 games in 3 years. So that's the question that needs to be answered. What do you guys think about Caden Smith?
I don't know.
Not in terms of a Pro Bowler, but just as a player.
Well, I hadn't seen enough of his tape to understand. He's a very late pick by the Giants, right?
Caden Smith was picked by the Niners last year. I think it was
the tight end.
Yeah,
right.
The tight end. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I was thinking that he was one of those late round linebackers that we took. No, Caden Smith, the tight end, right? Yeah, he's solid. He's solid. I think you have to have 2 tight ends in today's NFL.
Yeah, I like Smith. I like Smith a lot, and I think they're going to use a lot of 2 tight end sets. And if Ingram goes down, I think he could put up pretty good numbers. What about you, Lou? What did you think about Caden Smith down the stretch last year?
I really liked him, especially in that Washington game in Week 16. I mean, he got a game-winning touchdown. I think if Ingram does get injured, I think we can have an equal, well, not equally, but a good, solid tight end. I think that's what you need. Especially if your main guy gets hurt, you've got to have a good backup. I think that's what he is.
Yeah, and you look, and he's known for his blocking, but he definitely showed that he could be a pass catcher and a threat in that area. You look at some of those great Giant tight ends of the Super Bowl. Not great, but they won Super Bowls and they contributed, like Kevin Boss, Jake Ballard. That's who he kind of reminds me of, a guy that could block and could make a catch when necessary. I do like Caden, but I think he's got a bright future.
Yeah, you don't need a star at tight end in order for them to be effective. Yeah.
We never had one. I mean, when we were, obviously Bavaro, but with the more recent ones. Katie, man, thanks so much for the love, man. I appreciate it. He says, do you think we will beat the Eagles this year? Oh, I want to say yes. I want to say yes. I want to say that we will get a split, but it is tough for me to say it because it has been a really long time since we've beaten that team. But I think it's there for the taking. I think it's been there for the taking. The last 3 or 4 years, we've had opportunities to pull out a win. 2 years ago, Pat Shurmur stops running the football in the second half. Last year, we were beating them up there the second time we played them. I think we're going to have an opportunity to beat the Eagles this year. The question is, can the Giants close out the game, Sean?
I didn't want to spoiler because I know we were going to be talking about what our predictions for the season, and I'm a big believer that if the Giants are gonna go, man, they got to make hay on the East, you know. So I'll be a homer and say, yeah, I think they got the Eagles number this year. The Eagles have owned us for years. We've always owned the Washington Redskins, and Dallas we usually split with. But I don't know. I'm just not sold on Carson Wentz. Just not sold on him. I think Daniel Jones is better there. I said it. I'd rather have him than Carson Wentz. I'll just say it. I'll say it.
Love it. Love the optimism.
And I just think we have a better team. I mean, they have some really solid defensive players, but I don't know. They lost a key safety. What was his name again? He just went to New Orleans, right?
Oh, yeah. I can't remember off the top of my head. They lost a lot of depth players. They lost the tackle. They lost a bunch of depth pieces to the Eagles.
They lost one of the players who was just always there for every single tackle. I can't remember his name.
They lost Peters too. They lost Jason Peters, the tackle, who's been, even though he's 39 years old, he was a leader in that locker room, a guy that was stable there year in and year out. So we'll see. I'm not gonna go as far to say what you're saying. I'm not gonna say we're better than the Eagles, but I do think we're gonna at least have a good opportunity to win one game this year. Louis, what about you? What do you think?
I think we split. I think we win the home game, but to me, even if we lose both, they're going down anyway, so it doesn't matter. They're going down next 2 years. We're going up.
So. Love it.
Exactly. Well,
we're definitely headed in the right direction. And Asia, thank you so much, Asia. Incredible. Thank you so much, Asia, for the generosity. She says, "Chris, stand up, my sexy Dana. Another walk. Oh, she's watching the MLB. Another walk off for Dominic Smith today, and I love how you were gulping that beer down today. This is how I love Chris so much. I am watching the 2015 Division Series, and it was freezing that day. Thank you again. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm a huge baseball. I don't know about you guys. I'm a Met fan. Unfortunately, I'm a diehard Met fan. And I was at that 2015 NLCS. I was freezing. What about you, Louis? Are you into any other American sports outside of football?
No, not really. I think the main reason I got into American football is because it's the most similar to rugby, and that's what I've played.
Right.
But no, I've never really been interested in other American sports. I think I'd love to watch and learn about new sports, but no, I think football is definitely my main one to watch.
Yeah, that seems like in the UK. That seems like the sport that you guys have definitely. I have so many subscribers from the UK. It's definitely an emerging sport over there. What about you, Sean? What you a Met fan, Yankee fan?
You know, I have to admit, I grew up a Yankees fan. You know, my whole life. You know, it was magical. Like, you know, in the 70s. You know, with Reggie and all that. But then, in 2015, I took a job working for the New York Mets. So hey, look, they signed my checks, man.
If I go back in time, I would have picked pinstripes. It would have been a much easier life.
Yeah.
The Mets have ripped my heart out time and time again. Anybody that complains that's a young Giant fan right now, I challenge you to be a Met or Knick fan. The two other teams I root for. The Knicks are even worse, but it's been tough, but I still love the Mets. Argenis, man, thanks so much for love. I appreciate it. He says, Giants updated the end zone this season. We need them to update the uniforms. Yeah, I posted that on my Instagram. I thought that was pretty cool. A little not that different. The Giants used to have the NY logo, I think, in the right or the left corner, and then they had the NFC logo in the corner. Now it's just two NYs, and I think they changed the outlining of the NY. It's not that much of a dramatic difference, but it was something cool to see, something different, just to see the field. Hopefully we get to see football soon. In terms of the uniforms, I get asked this question all the time. I am not a huge uniform guy. I don't really care at the end of the day. I like the uniform they have, but a lot of people want to see a change in the uniform. What's your guys' take on that? Do you think there's a change for a uniform? And if there is, I guess, what would you like to see, like a retro look or something just completely different?
If it ain't broke, why fix it?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I mean, I'd be okay with it, but like I look at the Jets uniforms and I'm like, I don't want something like that. I was not a big fan of the Jets uniform. It looks like a college uniform to me. If they were gonna do it, me personally, I kind of like that retro look. The uniforms that they had in the '90s with the stripes on the sleeves. It wasn't that much different than this. I love the color rush jersey. The all white with the that's my favorite jersey. But I wouldn't want a dramatic change, but maybe a slight alteration. What about you, Louis?
I actually have bought a Saquon Barkley color rush jersey, and that should be coming soon. So yeah, that is probably my favorite jersey we've got right now. But I love the retro look of the Giants logo as well. I mean, I love the New York one we've got, but I think if we can implement more of the retro, I would be all for that.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I grew up with the Giant. You know what you're talking about, which spelled out the Giants on the helmet. And then when they switched to the NY, I was like, I love it. It's it's new, it's fresh, I like it. But I kind of miss the Giants. Like whenever I see them wear it on the Color Rush jerseys, I'm like, I kind of want to see that again. I don't know what it is. Maybe as you get older, you want to see what you remember when you were a kid. But I like either one. I'm not too picky. Like you said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I think some people are saying we need a spark. We need something new. We need a new identity. Yeah, I would be
coaches.
Yeah. The players and the coaches are a lot more important than the uniform. What's going on, Jarvis Juice? Thanks for popping in the stream. Let's see what we got. We got any new question? We need to go back to our old jerseys. Jawad said, love this thing. It definitely makes me want to come on next. Yeah, Jawad, I'm definitely going to try to have different subscribers on next time. You guys let me know. I'm going to do it once a week. I like how the Giants. But Chris, you can't out-suffering me. I'm a Northwestern fan. My pain trumps your pain. Yeah, well, that's your fault. I mean, Nate's a great subscriber of mine, and I think he told me in my Discord that he has family that went to Northwestern. But, I mean, I don't feel bad for you. You could have picked so many other teams when it comes to college sports. You were the only Northwestern fan I know. I don't feel that bad for you. You could have picked anybody else. No, I'm a Notre Dame fan because of Rudy, but but I give you credit for rooting for that team. Let's see what we got here. Edge rush. Okay. Sarge wants to know edge rusher signing. Do you think they'll bring in Everson Griffin or Marcus Golden? What do you think, Sean? Do you think either one do you think Golden will be back?
Well, I think Marcus Golden, the contract situation the Giants have with him, I mean, couldn't be any better. I mean, we have him for a song as it is. But I think the signing of Fackrell really kind of took his job. Fackrell's that positional get the sack guy specialist, and that's what Golden's job was. So that's why I think he's, trade bait. But I guess my answer is no. I think that I think you had talked about it at Athena, where you talked about how the Patriots tend to focus on the secondary to help the defensive line. And I think that's the direction the Giants are going. I don't think they're going to spend $18 to $25 million on a guy right now.
Yeah, I definitely think that's the direction they're going in.
Where's he going to be,
Yeah. Before I get my thoughts, I want to get your thoughts on that. Do you think Everson Griffin's a guy they could potentially go out if Marcus Golden gets signed by somebody else before July 22nd with that tender?
I think it's a possibility, but I mean, we've got Fackrell in now, and I think with Marcus Golden, like I was saying with earlier for Evan Engram and Caden Smith, if you can have a solid maybe starter in Fackrell, maybe he gets injured, maybe doesn't play as well as you're hoping to, we've still got that solid position that we know is in Marcus Golden that we can just bring on. I don't think there's anything wrong with consistency either. So I don't think it's necessary to bring in someone new. I think if we can just keep the same we've got, keep them playing, keep them improving, I think we'll be golden.
Pretty good. I like that. Yeah, I think there's I would say 50-50 that Golden's back. The Giants will get if he does come back. I think it's for like $4 million. Like, it's ridiculous for a guy coming up a year. And I'm not the hugest Golden guy. I've been saying this since like week 14, 15. I thought he was a great player last year for the Giants. I thought he fit the system, but I think he's a system dependent player. But if you get him back for $4 million as the situational pass rusher, you run to the bank with that. As far as Everson Griffin goes, I continue to say this. I get asked this all the time. I don't just think from the Giants' perspective. I think from Everson Griffin's perspective. This guy's going to be 33, I think, next year. He's been in the league for a long time. He's made money. I don't see the fit. If I'm Everson Griffin, I'm looking to try to compete for a Super Bowl next year. And I'm also looking to try to find a situation where I could fit, meaning I'm a 4-3 defensive end. I don't want to be going to a team that's playing 3-4, 4-3. I just don't see the fit with Everson Griffin. I don't think it makes much sense. I think he needs to go to a team where he's going to be able to play nearly every down in a 4-3 and compete for a Super Bowl. So I don't see Griffin, and I think Golden's 50-50 if a team, signs him before July 22nd. So I wouldn't mind Golden as a situational pass rusher. But like you said, I think Fackrell was brought on to be his replacement because he fits the system better.
Yep.
Yeah. Asia, thank you so much for love. I appreciate it. She said, LO JC said Sean looks like Kurt Russell. I can see that.
I haven't heard that since I had hair, so God bless you.
I can see it. I can see it a little bit. Now that she said it, I can see it a little bit.
No, when I had the hair, everybody would tell me that all the time. And then, I got a little older and yeah, they didn't say that so much. So thank you, my dear. I appreciate it.
You kind of sound like him too. You kind of sound like him.
That's an old reference. Maybe I should give you a newer one. Yeah.
Our Dennis, man, thank you so much for love. I appreciate it. He says, thoughts on the Darnold.
Yeah.
No, that's okay. He says, thoughts on the Darnold versus Jones debate. People making excuses for Darnold when Jones had those same excuses, but worse, especially not having a defense. All right, let's jump into the Darnold and Jones debate. This is going to be a debate for years when it comes to New York Giants, because the New York Giants had the opportunity to take Sam Darnold, and a lot of Giants fans on draft night in 2018 wanted the Giants to take Sam Darnold, and they may say that they didn't now, but trust me, a lot of Giants fans did, and a lot of Giants fans were happy that we took Barkley. But this is going to be a debate between Giants and Jets fans for a decade if Darnold turns out good. What's your guys' thoughts on Sam Darnold? I'll start with this one. I'll start with my opinion. My thoughts on Sam Darnold is this. I still think Sam Darnold could be a good quarterback in the NFL. I think he's been set up to be a failure. The Jets, they made the mistake that the Giants did not in year 2 for Daniel Jones. The Jets needed to fix that offensive line in Darnold's second year. They didn't do it. They didn't draft an offensive lineman. They didn't sign an offensive lineman of significance, and Darnold struggled because of it. They brought in a running back who couldn't run behind a bad offensive line. They lose Robbie Anderson this year, but they drafted Denzel Mims in the second. They helped him out a little bit, but the most important thing for him this year, they improved that offensive line. But if I'm taking a quarterback right now, I'm taking Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones in his rookie year is leaps and bounds, in my opinion, when he's been at his best, better than what Sam Darnold has been. Now, I don't think Sam Darnold is as bad as some people make him out to be. He had a 7-6 record last year with the Jets. He was out for 3 games with the mono, and I still think he could be a good quarterback, but I'm going Daniel Jones. Call me biased. I don't care. I'm a Giants fan, but I'm taking Daniel Jones. But I think both could be successful. Sean, go ahead.
Sam Darnold's got some serious problems he has to work out. I mean, I watched a lot of Jets because, we would do a Jets post-game show, and he's constantly throwing off of his back foot. I mean, he's not getting himself set and throwing the ball. He's like running and throwing it like wild. And I just think that that's a recipe for disaster. So I think he's got an extremely strong, accurate arm. He could turn out to be really good, but man, he's got some stuff he has to fix. So I'd say in terms of after 1 year, I'd say Daniel Jones is definitely ahead of him.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So you think Gettleman made the right choice passing up on the quarterback in 2018?
I'm so happy that we have Saquon Barkley on our team. He is, like I said, he is the reincarnation of Walter Payton. He's sweetness reborn. It's just so fun to watch him play. He's awesome.
Oh, he's fantastic. Louis, what do you think? Darnold versus Jones. What do you think?
Well, I think when you look at Jones's rookie year, some people I think Jones had a way better year than Jones did in the second. And I think when you add a strong offensive line to an already good rookie year of a quarterback, and then compare him to a quarterback in his third year with a mediocre offensive line, I don't think there's much competition. I don't doubt Sam Darnold's ability to throw the ball well, but I think when you compare about which team's got better assets now to help them, and with their already talent they've got already, I don't think it's much of a competition. I think Daniel Jones wins that every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I definitely think Daniel Jones has a better support system. You look at the weapons. I mean, Le'Veon Bell is not the Le'Veon Bell from a couple of years ago. Not to mention, he was a guy that kind of hid behind that really strong Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line. And then he was kind of I always loved watching him play because he would stand behind the offensive line for 2 or 3 seconds and wait for the hole to open up. But you can't do that with the Jets. They don't have an offensive line like the Steelers had. They don't have near the weapons in terms of the passing game that the Giants have. I mean, Evan Ingram, Darius Slayton, Saquon Barkley coming out of the backfield. Giants have better weapons. I think have at least as good as an offensive line, if not hopefully better. I just think Daniel Jones is set up for more success with the New York Giants, at least right now. So I agree with you guys. And Asia, thank you so much for the love. I appreciate it. She says, Chris, ask Sean Did he ever watch the Guardians of the Galaxy 2? Kurt Russell plays Ego, Star-Lord's father.
I'm your dad.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually love. I know Louis was talking about that he loves the Marvel. That's one of my favorite Marvel series. I love the Guardians of the Galaxy. And everybody seemed to hate the second. Well, not hate, but they said the second one wasn't nearly as good as the first. When I first saw the second one, I thought that. I watched it again. I was like, I really liked it. I actually thought Kurt Russell was a really good villain in that one.
Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, and I love everything Marvel. I just think it's. Yeah, I wasn't a DC guy, it's sort of like a, Jets Giants thing, but Marvel, like Stan Lee's was my hero. I just love the guy. Loved him.
Yeah. What about you, Louis? What do you think of Guardians of the Galaxy?
Well, I have this track record of when I first see every Marvel film, I don't like it. I think the only time I have just not been that was when I saw Infinity War, and then I go back and watch them again, and I love them. And the first Guardians, I love that.
Yeah.
Second one, to me, it's very different. As in, I try to look in because I used to want to be a director, so we used to look into more depth in films. And when I look into that one, it's a lot more emotion. Dig deep into the characters, and I think that's always when you dig deeper into the characters of a comic book film, it feels more like a comic book. And I think Guardians of the Galaxy is by far one of the most loved parts of the Marvel universe there is now, and I'm part of that community that loves it.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was a great mix of drama, action, comedy, and it's kind of like a sillier Star Wars. But I really love Guardians of the Galaxy. And Zach, man, thank you so much for that, man. I really appreciate it. He says, did you guys hear anything about Dave Gettleman retiring?
Shut your mouth.
I've not heard anything of significance for that, but I will say this, Zach. I wouldn't be shocked if he does, due to the fact that he's up there in age. He's a cancer survivor.
He said,
and I think his role when he came to the Giants from the beginning was always to be the guy that got us out of the rut. Be the guy, the rebuild guy. Like I said in recent videos about Dave Gettleman, I don't know if he's going to be the guy that is here when we get the parade. But I think he's going to be the guy, if we do get that parade, that you look back and you say, he's a big part of it.
He's the Ernie Accorsi of this next generation.
Ernie Accorsi of this next generation, if it works out. If Daniel Jones becomes that guy, Barkley becomes that guy, this offensive line takes that big step forward. Some of these defensive pieces take that big step forward. So I haven't heard anything of significance that he's going to retire, and I don't think they would announce that yet anyway. But I wouldn't be shocked if they move on from him after this year, if they have a plan in place, like I said, to bring in Abrams, maybe make Joe Judge have more personnel say. I hope he stays on for at least one more year due to the fact that I still think we're one really strong draft away from getting to where we really want to be, which is 5 or 6 or 7 years straight of competing. And that's Gettleman's strength is drafting. There's no doubt about it. So I think we're probably one more really strong draft away from getting to that point where we can really be confident going into a year and saying there's a playoff team. So I personally want to see Gettleman stay on for one more year, but I wouldn't be shocked if they move on after this season. Let's start with Louis. What about you, Louis?
I don't think. No. I don't. Even if there was rumors of it, I would hate for it to happen because we're already in rebuild mode, and once you lose your general manager, you have to maybe. New one doesn't want Daniel Jones. Maybe they want to draft someone else. Maybe they want to change all the offensive coordinators, and it's just a massive mess of a situation. There's a soccer team in England, and I don't know if any UK fans will know it. Well, they probably will, but they won't agree with me. Called Manchester United, and they constantly get new owners, new head coaches. And it just never seems to work out. You're always in decline. And I think what we have now is going well. There's no need to change it. So even if it was a rumor, no, I don't. I'd hate for it to happen. I think it'd be a massive disadvantage to where we go in.
So it sounds like the New York Knicks you're talking about. I know you said you were talking about a soccer. It sounds a lot about like the New York Knicks. They change their GM every 2 years. But Sean, what about you? What's your take on the whole Gettleman thing?
He stole all my thunder. I feel exactly the same way. What you just said. I mean, it's like Gettleman. I mean, the Gettleman project, as my friend like to say, is so. It is just budding right now. You know, we're just starting to see it culminate into something beautiful. And that would suck if he retired right now. Oh, so hopefully, like you said, they have a man in waiting, and hopefully this does not become the merry-go-round of the front office.
Well, that's what I fear more than anything. Yeah. Exactly what Louis said was, here's my thought process on it. Gettleman is going to be the scapegoat this year if the team does really poor. They're not going to make Judge the scapegoat. He's a new coach. Gettleman's going to be the guy. If they win 3 games, ownership is going to make the fans happy and they'll move on from Gettleman. And I think we all hope that's not the case. We want stability. We want to see this rebuild carried out. But like Louis said, what I worry about more than anything, if they do move on from Gettleman, is them bringing in a guy from the outside like the Arizona Cardinals did. They bring in Cliff Kingsbury, and he says, even though he wasn't the GM, I've got this system. I need this guy. After they just traded for Josh Rosen the year before, I don't want a complete overhaul of what Gettleman has started to build. And he's built this team a certain way. And who's to say the new GM comes in, not just with Daniel Jones, because that's the most obvious answer, because the GM's only as good as his quarterback, but who's to say he comes in here and he doesn't agree with the philosophy of a strong interior defensive line. And he's like, no, I can't build this team around Dexter Lawrence. And he just overhauls everything. And he comes up with a completely new defensive philosophy. That's something people need to think about when they're talking about constant change with the general manager. I would like to see stability for 1 more year and see this rebuild carried out. And then when you get the plan in place, maybe then you start to think about the GM of the future. But I'm with you guys. I want to see at least 1 more year of Gettleman after this year in a perfect world. Barboski, man, thanks so much for the love, man. He says, sup, bud? Great stuff as always. God bless. Hey, the stars of the show tonight are Sean and Louie. They're doing a great job. But Barboski, man, thank you so much for being a great subscriber. Really appreciate it. Let's see what we got here. What player will improve? Okay, that's a good one. Let's do offense and defense. I'll start with Sean. What player on the offensive and defensive side this year will improve the most for the New York Giants this year?
Offense, I'm going to say Daniel Jones because he played so well, but everybody's calling him Danny Dimes, and I was saying he's going to be called Danny Fumbles a lot unless he fixes that, So I think he's going to fix it. He just looks dedicated as heck, to really just come out and not be mediocre. I think he's determined. I'm not, he's got like that sort of quiet, MJ going, where he just wants to win. And you hear these stories about them all working out and play. I just feel really good about him. I just think he's just so far exceeded expectations for me. So I would say Daniel Jones will be the most improved offensive player. And on defense, I'm going to go with.
Yeah.
I think we were talking about situational rushers. That's not what Zimenez is. He's an every down outside linebacker. And the reason is because I think when we do go to those 3 safety sets and we have 3 linebackers, it's going to be Carter and Zimenez on the other side, and then the Green Bay guy we just picked up.
Martinez.
Yes, right. That's going to be your set guys who can cover and guard the run and things like that. So I think O'Shane should be your most improved defensive player. I think.
Like the answer. Good answer. He was productive, and I think he only played 46% of the snaps last year, and he got 4.5 sacks. So he was pretty productive. It's a good answer. Louis, what about you? Offense and defense?
I think on the offense, Daniel Jones is obviously the main man. We need him. We need him to improve. I mean, personally, I think if you fix those fumble problems, which it looks like that is his main goal, we've got a really, really solid quarterback that we're going to have hopefully for the next 10 years. And then I think on the defense, it's going to have to be DeAndre Baker if he comes back and is all well. Not only because he needs to be the most improved, but because he's going to have to help. If you can get DeAndre Baker with his talent shoot up, and then you can get him to help Darnay Holmes as well, that can be a fantastic cornerback pairing.
I think that's a great answer, DeAndre Baker. If he's a Giant, but I do think he fits this defensive scheme a lot better. I do think he's a very talented player who really underperformed last year. So I think that's a good answer. That was probably who I was thinking. I'll give different answers here because Daniel Jones is the obvious answer on offense, but I will change it up. On the offensive side of the ball, outside of Daniel Jones, the guy who I think will be the most improved player is actually Will Hernandez. I think Hernandez will take a big step forward this year, playing next to Andrew Thomas in his third year. And one thing I haven't mentioned in a lot of my videos, another thing that I think fits Will Hernandez very well in this new offensive scheme that I think they're going to run, everything I've read about the Mark Colombo and Jason Garrett philosophy, they're going to run less a zone blocking. It's going to be more of a power block scheme, which fits Will Hernandez's skill set a lot better. So I will go Will Hernandez as the most improved player outside of Daniel Jones on the Giants offense, which I said last year and he wasn't. So maybe I'll look better this year. And then on the defense, I would have said probably the two guys you said, but I'll go with a different guy. I've been very outspoken about Lorenzo Carter. I think Lorenzo Carter could have a strong year for the New York Giants this year. He's a guy that Joe Judge has talked about when he was talking about the draft, a guy with a lot of upside that if they could coach up properly, they hopefully could get a lot out of. Kevin Sherr was his former linebacker coach at Georgia. I think he's a guy they're going to be able to move around, do a lot of different things. So I'll go with Lorenzo Carter, but I think both of the guys you mentioned in Zimenez and Baker are definitely two players that could really take a huge step forward this year. Jabril Peppers is another good answer as well. And Dexter Lawrence. I think Dexter Lawrence could really take a big step forward this year too. So there's a lot of guys that could be the most improved player in the defense. There really is, because we have a lot of young talent that really hasn't met where we hope that they're going to, reach within a couple of years. So you can answer a lot of ways on the defense. Yvonne, man, thank you so much for love, man. I really appreciate it. He says, who will have a better year, Peppers or McKinney? We'll start with Louis on this one. Peppers or McKinney?
I mean, I think the safe option would probably say Peppers because of his experience. But I mean, I'd love for Xavier McKinney to get rookie defensive player of the year, and I think that is a possibility if he can show signs of playing well as he did in college, as he did in the NFL. I don't see any problem why he can't outdo Peppers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that'll give a bit of rivalry to Peppers to make him even better. So I'd probably say Peppers just be on the safe side, but I think McKinney could definitely rival him in growth.
Good answer. What about you, Sean?
I'm going to have to say McKinney, and here's my reason. I was really, really, hot and heavy for our man Simmons to come in and be the ultra middle linebacker who could just center field the entire, because I would watch film of him and he was hitting everybody, making every tackle, and I was like, my God, this guy is it. This is what we need to cover the middle of the field, take away that bubble screen, stop all those quarterbacks, running the field on us with, effortlessly. And then when we drafted McKinney, I started looking at some of his film, and I'm like, he's like mini me for Simmons.
Yeah.
He's like the same player, just smaller. But I mean, he just always in on the tackle, just always where the ball is, no matter what the case is. So I have really high hopes about McKinney. I think he, I mean, we were talking about value pick. I was like, McKinney, but I just, like I said, for a fourth round pick, I just had a really good feeling about Darnay Holmes just as a guy. I just feel like he's just a really amazing player. But McKinney to me, I like Peppers. I think he's to me, he's going to be like coming up the 8 in the box guy a little bit more. And McKinney's that, center fielder who's just going to be everywhere, making sure, we don't have, quarterbacks saying, oh, there's nothing. Okay, I'll run for 20 yards every time, So.
Yeah, no, and you mentioned Isaiah Simmons, and I think for a lot of the people, because probably 75, I was an oddity with this. I think most of the Giants fans going in wanted Simmons. They did, even though I think they all realized we need a tackle, but they saw Simmons as that guy that could fulfill the problem the Giants have had for a while, which is exactly what you said, covering that tight end, covering that running back coming out of the backfield, that athletic linebacker. And McKinney's not that. He's not, like you said, he's not 6'4", but he is a guy that could do a lot of the things that Simmons could do, even though he's smaller in stature. And I think because we were able to get McKinney at 37, I think a lot of the people that were disappointed with the tackle kind of said, okay, I'm okay now. We got a guy who could do a lot of the things that we wanted from Simmons, and a guy that probably should have been a mid-first round pick to begin with at number 37. So I am actually going to say McKinney also. And I like Peppers. I think Peppers is going to play well for the Giants. I think that they're going to play him a lot at the middle linebacker position, but I am really excited about McKinney. I think he fits this defense perfectly. I think he's going to come in day one and make an immediate impact for the New York Giants. But it's a tough question because I do think both of them could be really good this year, and I wouldn't be shocked if either one is the better player this year for the New York Giants. But I think both are going to be integral parts on whether or not the New York Giants have a defense that exceeds expectations. They may be the two most important players on the defense. So I'm excited for both of them, but I'll go with McKinney. I'll go with the rookie. Independent Outsider, man. Thank you so much for the love, man. I really appreciate it. He says, how many sacks can we get on Brady versus the Bucks? I hope 1 million. Brady's not the most fleet of foot. And I don't think the Bucks have a great offensive line. I know that I think they drafted one this year early in the first round, so we'll see if it improves. They've definitely got a lot of weapons over there. That's going to be a challenging game, but I do say that the Bucks are, I think, a little bit overrated this year by the media. I don't view them as a 12 or 13 win team like a lot of people do. I think that is a game where the Giants maybe could pick them off, but I'll go with 3 or 4 sacks just for fun. But the one thing I'll say about Brady, even though he's not fleet of foot, he is very good at getting that ball out quick. Very smart quarterback, very good. You know what? I'm going to retract that statement. I don't know how many sacks we're going to get against him, because the weakness for Brady when he was with the Patriots was having a defense that could get after him without blitzing. And we remember that with the New York Giants from the 2008 Super Bowl. When we had the 4-man front, we didn't have to send blitzes to get after him because he's very good at deciphering the defense. The Giants have that type of defense where we're going to have to send pressure with blitzes and things like that. I think we could struggle in that game due to the fact that you have a very smart quarterback with Tom Brady. I think he's going to be able to read the blitz as well. I think Daniel Jones will have to put up some points in that game to win. And I think he will. I think Daniel Jones is going to put up points against that Bucs defense. I think it'll be a shootout, a game in the high 20s, low 30s either way. I think it'll be close because it's at home. And I think the Bucs play Vegas the week before, so they're kind of traveling across the country. The Giants have 4 extra days rest because they play the Eagles on Thursday night. So I think that's a game that we have a better chance than a lot of people may think. But I don't know if we're going to do very good against Brady. I think he'll do well deciphering our defense. But Sean, go ahead.
Well, I don't see us sacking Brady a lot because I don't think he's in the league to, be the champ and take shots. I think he's in the league for one reason and one reason only, and his name is Drew Brees. And here's what I mean. This is I'm going on a tangent. I'm sorry, but Tom Brady is on Tampa to get stats. If you look at all-time passing, touchdowns, and in all the categories, him and Drew Brees are like this, neck and neck, and they're within he's like a season behind Drew Brees. So I think he just wants to go there and rack up a whole bunch of stats with those amazing wide receivers. He brought Gronkowski in there. So I think if he sees somebody coming at him, he's going to be like, whoop, into the ground. He's not going to take any sacks. So, I think we're going to have to get real lucky if we get our fingers on that guy,
Yeah, he gets the ball out quick, but you don't have to necessarily get sacks to create turnovers, things like that. You make him throw balls before he wants to. We'll see how it plays out this year, but yeah, I think it's going to be hard to get some sacks against Brady. Louis, what do you think?
I agree a lot with Sean. He's done the dynasty. He's got the Super Bowl rings. He's got the most. And I really think, for me, Drew Brees, I think, is probably one of the least talked about all-time consistent, good quarterbacks. And I think that Tom Brady, he's beaten him for rings. He's not going to start a new dynasty with Tampa Bay. I don't think he's planning on doing that. He wants to rack up as much completions, touchdowns as he can, beat out Drew Brees for stats as well as Super Bowl rings, and end his career on top of everything.
Right.
So, I don't think he's looking to prove himself anymore. He doesn't need to prove himself anymore. He's already established himself as one of the greats of all time. Whether or not he is, maybe he wants to fully prove that he is, and there's no question about it. But for me, no, he's not looking to prove that he's going to win Super Bowls with. It doesn't matter what team he's with, he can still do it. He's just looking to end his career on top of anyone else.
Right.
I think he's in a great situation, like you guys said, to put up numbers. Bruce Arians runs an offense where they're going to be throwing the ball a lot, and he's got a lot of weapons. So I do think that Brees looked at a situation with New England, and he said to himself, we're still going to compete year in and year out, but we don't have any weapons here. I'm not gonna be able to air out the football, and I don't think we're gonna win any Super Bowls with the team we have here. I'm gonna go over to Tampa Bay. He's probably making a lot more money than he would have made with New England, and he's got some weapons, and he could go out on a high point. But I do think that is one of the games where we could get an upset. I've said that. Let's see what we got here. Zach with the $5 donation. I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. He says, I have a question. Do you see the NFL going in a direction where the NFL is like a boot camp, like everyone sleeps, eats, and practices together? That's a question I've never gotten before. Sleeps, eats, and practices together like a boot camp. I do not think that the NFL will go in that direction. I don't see that. But I will say Joe Judge is definitely more old school than most coaches in the league. When I heard him talking at his press conference, it sounded like he was like a college coach when he was talking about, doing extra practices, things like that. And the coaches for the Giants, if you remember at the Combine, they all slept together like it was a college atmosphere. They all went over there to the Combine together, and I think they shared dorm rooms or whatever it may have been there. But no, I do not see that being the case in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
That was a random question. You guys have any thoughts on that one?
Are you gonna go, Louis? Oh, okay.
You can go.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, there's so much we don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I like hesitate to even say these words. I don't even know if there's gonna be a season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We just don't know what's gonna happen. And do I think they will go way over the top to protect these players? Yes.
Yeah.
Do I think that they will like quarantine them together when they're going from town to town? Yes. Do I think that they will be tested routinely all the time? Yes.
I think that. Yeah.
I think the world has changed, and these guys are so, they're multi-million-dollar athletes. I just don't see them being able to just go out and party the night away like they used to, the week.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with that. There'll be curfews and things like that, and yes, it's a different world we're living in right now with everything that's going on. I didn't even know that's where he was going. I didn't even realize that's where he was going with that question. But yeah, as far as the I should have picked up on that. As far as the quarantine goes, yeah, you know what? Now that he says that, maybe that will be the case. But I definitely think that I don't see many fans being in the stands. I know people have talked about that being a possibility. I do think we're gonna have football. I'd be shocked if we don't. Especially now you're hearing that we're going to have basketball and everything else. Now, the thing is this. I think we're going to get football, but the question I have for you, Louis, and let's not think negatively, but let's say we start football and something similar with the NBA happens with the NFL where we start to have some players get it. After the fact, once the season's underway, then the question becomes, do they then halt the season at that point? That's what I question. I think they'll start the season. But do they suspend it if something like that happens?
Well, I think you can only do so much if that happens. I mean, you could either hold the season, which would then delay the entire calendar year. You'd push back playoffs, you'd push back extra games, you'd interfere with loads of other things that maybe players have going on. But then you also run the risk of how much are you willing to risk your players' safety. You can't. There's only so much you can do. Some players are going to get scared. They're not going to want to risk their livelihood every weekend, every day in training camp. When there's a simpler, safer option. Yes, we don't want it, but we don't want to stop watching. We don't want to stop playing. But if it's human safety, I think that's the only real option to take.
Yeah. No, I agree that they're gonna be as careful as they possibly can. That's for sure. And maybe it will be a sleepaway atmosphere at training camp, being that you won't have to go back and forth to your house and potentially get your family sick, I guess. So it's actually a good point he brought up after I thought about it. It'll be interesting. I haven't heard much about that in terms of that being an option, but I haven't done a ton of research on it. Let's see what we got here. I'm trying to get somebody new who hasn't asked a question yet. Rafat asked, Matt Judon, linebacker from Baltimore, I believe he is going to be a free agent next year. Do you think we go after him? It's possible. You look at the Giants cap right now. I think a lot of it's going to come down to whether we sign Leonard Williams, and if they do that, that'll tie up a lot of cap. I also think they may use some of that money to extend players like Saquon Barkley, things like that. So I don't know how much money they're going to have to spend next offseason. Matt Judon's a nice player. He's not an elite pass rusher. So it's also, for me, going to depend on the price tag that Matt Judon will command. And there's going to be a lot of edge rushers in next year's class because there were so many edge rushers in this year's class that got franchise tag. So if they don't get signed, they're going to be free agents next year. Guys like we'll see with Clowney if he signs a 1-year deal. But, Yannick Ngakoue, a number of players were franchise tag and they'll hit the open market. He's just one of many. We'll see. It's possible because when you look at the draft next year, if the Giants are going to spend big in free agency, I do think it'll be at the edge rusher because they're, at least right now, and things could change, but right now it seems as if there's not a lot of premier prospects at that position in the draft, and it's definitely one of the Giants' bigger needs. So if the Giants are going to spend in free agency next year, I don't know if it'll be on Judon, but I could see them spending heavy at the edge rusher position.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would say my answer to that is at the end of the season, is Zoe Carter going to get cut or not? You know what I mean? I think it really depends on who we got. I mean, if we have 2 outside linebackers that we've been really hoping we're going to, blossom into outstanding players in Zimenez and Carter. And I think by the end of this year, we're probably going to have a really good feel for both of them. Where they're at, and I'm hoping that they're both going to make getting an outside linebacker moot. That's my hope.
Well, yeah, that's another thing that needs to be answered before you could really answer that question. Mm-hmm. Do the Giants feel like they need to spend $18 to $20 million on an edge rusher, being that they've invested as much as they have in the secondary? They may feel like they could, we got to wait and see how this pass rush develops this year with the strategy that they have. But what about you, Louis? What do you think?
I think we just got to wait and see. I mean, if Carr has a breakout year, stick with him. If O'Shane Jimenez has a breakout year, stick with him. I think there's no point rushing into something now that it doesn't need to happen. I think Ryan Connolly could really come on if he's given the chance. Maybe a couple more years could really develop. That Blake Martinez can really help him come on as well. Mm-hmm. So I think hold out for now. If it needs to be done, we'll then possibly look to get it done. But there's no need overthinking it now when we have good players now that can come up.
Yeah, and I agree with you guys. I think we got to wait and see how the guys that we have, the young guys, develop this year before you could really answer that question. But if they do not develop into, I guess, guys that we feel like are top-tier edge rushers or guys that could be top-tier edge rushers, I think, yes, I do. I don't know if it'll be Judon, but I do think that they could attack the edge rusher position next year in free agency if they have enough money to do so, depending on what they elect to do with some other players on the roster. Like I said, Saquon Barkley, things like that. And it's all going to depend on how much cap space we have. So it's kind of really hard to project. That's why I haven't really made any videos on next year's draft yet or next year's free agency because we don't know. Right now you're just throwing darts at a dartboard. We don't know what players are going to develop. We don't know where we're going to be picking in the draft. It's way too early to start speculating on things like that. But let's see what we got here. Trying to get somebody new. What's the one position we lack right now? Saucy Sausage says. I mean, I'll start with you, Sean. Go ahead. One position we lack right now, more so than any other.
Well, I'm feeling good about Blake Martinez. I when we played them and when I saw Green Bay, I thought he was like impactful and on the tackles. But I like I said, I really want somebody in the middle with outstanding speed, like an Isaiah Simmons or a Devin Bush or somebody like that. I mean, that's just what we do not have. On defense with linebackers is just outstanding speed, like somebody who can just get on it. And just get to the ball. So that would be my call. Just a really, really fast linebacker, middle linebacker.
That's a good one. Louis, what about you?
Yeah. I think that is probably the most standout position that we lack in at the minute, to be honest. And I think me learning about the draft is probably my next step in learning about the sport. But I mean, if there's a guy there that fits what Sean was saying there. I think if it even comes down to it, taking a fast guy there, that would really help our defense. I think we've got a strong defense. Well, we'll have to see what happens. But yeah, you never say never. But I think a linebacker is probably the definitely the standout position that we need to improve on.
Yeah, I just to say some different positions. I mean, I agree that we definitely could use an athletic linebacker. I like Ryan Conley, but I'm not sold on him yet being that every down athletic coverage linebacker. I agree with you guys. I think that is an area of importance. I do think as of now, until proven otherwise, we need an edge rusher. And a center. Right now, I mean, we don't have a proven center. I mean, we hope Shane Lemieux's that guy. He's never played center before. Gates has never played center before. Pulley, Jalapio, I mean, those guys aren't very good. So I would say center on the offensive side is our biggest glaring hole. And a wide receiver. We definitely could use a supreme wide receiver as well. Maybe not so much for this year. I do like our starting three, at least to be adequate. But going forward, when you look at Golden Tate's up there and Age Shepard with the concussion issues, I do think that will be a pressing need next year as well. But I think those four areas would be – but I agree that the coverage linebacker – is probably the biggest right now, or an edge rusher. One of those two. I agree with that. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. What's going on, Joseph? Thanks for popping in the stream, man. And question: players have spoken about the whole Patriot way not working for them. What can Judge do to avoid that happening? Will these players be more willing to take on the Patriot style? Huh. Okay. That's a good question. I'll start with that one. Here's what I'll say. I'm not too worried about that because if you look at the Giants roster right now, they're all young. It's not like you're teaching an old dog new tricks. You're teaching young players. I mean, most of these guys are second, third year rookie players, and they're players that I do think fit what Judge is looking to do. And they're all good locker room guys. That's something that Gettleman and the Giants have really made it a focal point to try to change this team around and bring in guys that are just doing whatever they can to try to win football games. And I think they have a good locker room culture right now. They may not have the talent that we need quite yet or the developed talent to be able to compete and win Super Bowls and go to the playoffs. But I'm not too worried about guys having the mindset of I have to sacrifice part of my game for the betterment of the team because we don't really have many established veterans on this team to begin with. So I'm not too worried about that. I think that they'll do what is asked of them to try to fit into, I guess, the Patriot way, even though I think Joe Judge will put his spin on the New York Giants. Anything to add to that, guys?
Oh, yeah. Once upon a time, the New York Knicks were really good. And they had a coach by the name of Pat Riley. And I think his quote comes to mind because I think it's right up Joe Judge's alley. And there was a question very similar that he was asked where he said, some players don't know if they understand your system, your defensive system, and if they can gel with it. And his answer was, they can gel on the bench. So my answer is, hey, look, this is the system. If you don't, just, if you don't, we want players that are going to buy in 110%. Who are going to listen to what Joe Judge is selling and just buy in 100%. That's what I think.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to have much of an issue with that. I think that's why the Giants started from the ground up and they got rid of most of the veterans that they thought could be a problem there. Louis, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think Joe Judge has come over to the Giants to become your head coach to copy what he's been doing at the Patriots. I think he wants his own identity. So I'm not too worried about that. I think Joe Judge will do what he does. And I think it's going to be really exciting to see a brand new scheme that we can claim as our own instead of copying other teams, because we don't need to do that. Create our own identity and be the best at it.
It's a great answer. I think he'll take bits and pieces of what he's learned from Belichick and Saban, but like you said, he's going to put his spin on it. He's going to have the team the way he wants it, but I'm not worried about the players. I think they got rid of the players that they thought could be issues in terms of like guys like Janoris Jenkins, guys that would complain if maybe they had to sacrifice their roles and point the fingers at other teammates. I don't really see that with the players on this team, so I'm not too worried about it. Let's see what we got here. But you can't go into it with that mentality. You'll end up like the Lions, West Coast says. What do you mean, being the Patriots? Well, I don't think that. I think they're going to put their own spin on it, man. Let's see what we got. Probably another two. Guys, we're going to go for another 10, 15 minutes or so, but thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. But trying to get a new person here. I don't like the hybrid players like Ingram. You need to do both in my mind. Be an inline tight end and block and catch. The offense is too predictable when he is on the field, Elvis says. That's something that's definitely fair. I mean, I think one thing there's two things Giants fans can't stand about Evan Ingram, at least to this point. Injury prone and he can't block at a position where you need somebody who could block. Now he's gotten a little bit better, at least from what people say, since he's come into the league, but he was never known as a blocker. He's built like a wide receiver. He's not meant to be a tight end in terms of that aspect. But if you bring him at the wide receiver, you lose that advantage that he presents in being a mismatch against linebackers. But I still think Evan Ingram's going to have a really strong year. And my answer to that is I think you're going to see a lot of two tight end sets. I think you're going to see Caden Smith involved a lot for the New York Giants this year. I think you'll see Toiolo a lot on third and shorts at the goal line. He's known for blocking. But I get what you're saying there. He is a liability when it comes to blocking. There's no doubt about it. And he's a guy that's been injury prone. So I could see why fans are at least skeptical about Evan Ingram going forward. I was not a fan of the pick when they made it. I think he's going to have a good year, but I never was a fan of the pick when they made it because it was a luxury. It was not a need. The Giants at that point in time had a horrible offensive line, and they had a really bad defense, and they brought in a tight end who couldn't block. I was never a fan of the pick.
Yeah, what comes to my mind again, and I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record saying this, but Joe Judge talked about the things that we need to improve, and we those are the things you need to make better. And Michael Jordan, when we talk a little bit about Last Dance, and they were talking about they'll never beat the Pistons because they're not big and strong enough. What did they do? They got big and strong, and they beat them. So I think if you're saying Evan Ingram can't do this, his answer should be, oh yeah, I can. And he should be getting himself in a position to do that. Or if he can't, next.
He won't be here. He won't be here very long. That's
yeah.
What about you? What about you?
I'm sorry.
Sorry to cut you off. What about you, Lee? What do you think about Ingram this year with the New York Giants?
I mean, I don't think you can always have a Travis Kelce. You can't always have a George Kittle that can do both. If you've got one that excels at one, Evan Ingram with his receiving, I think I'd happily take that advantage rather than him being average at everything. I mean, certainly we'd like him to be better blocking, less injury prone. And I think that is as well as, so we've got Jones is fumbling, Ingram's blocking. Sort those two out, and our offense is going to be very strong. So I think Ingram, I like Ingram. I think you can't always have a all-round player. So, but you can have a fantastic player at a certain aspect of his game,
right?
And then build on what you're not good at. I think that's just where Ingram needs to go.
And I think that's a big reason why they signed Toiolo and they have Caden Smith on this team is because they know that he is a detriment when it comes to blocking. They brought in a guy who's known for blocking at both two guys who are known for blocking at that position. And I think they'll give Ingram all the help he could get. But yeah, I could see why fans are down on Ingram. That's for sure. Blue, thank you so much for the $5 donation. I appreciate it. He says, Louis, with your rugby knowledge, what do you think of Dalvin T? Do you like him or anyone else as a run stuffer? And great job by everyone tonight. Thank you very much, man. Louis, there you go. You don't got to talk so much about rugby. What do you think of Dalvin Tomlinson in terms of being that run stuffer for the New York Giants?
Well, if I'm trying to compare him to what would be the rugby, I think I've been watching people like that my entire life with rugby, and people like that who have that strength. If you can utilize that well enough, you can cause havoc, especially with good. If you can have good edge rushes as well, you can have a good, a strong person in the middle as well. You can collapse the pocket well. You can hopefully get some sacks on Brady. And I'm trying to think how else I can incorporate rugby into this. I think it's a bit hard to compare. It's a bit hard to compare when the different players. But I think Dalvin Tomlinson can really, from a rugby perspective.
It's late in
I just
England.
think, yeah, it's really late. It's 4 a.m.
Yeah, I give you credit for being there, Louis, man. That's a tough question. I don't watch rugby. I don't know the first thing about it. So
Yeah.
I do not know how to answer that question. All I can tell you about Dalvin Tomlinson is I like Dalvin Tomlinson a lot. I just don't know if he's going to be in the long-term plans because Leonard Williams. I think they're only going to be able to choose one of them. So if they choose Leo, I don't think Tomlinson will be here. If they choose Tomlinson, I don't think Leo will be here. But I like Dalvin Tomlinson. Dalvin Tomlinson was one of my favorite players on last year's team. And I think that is the deepest position on the roster. The defensive line with all the players that we have. But Dalvin Tomlinson was terrific for the New York Giants last year. I think he was an unsung hero. L.A. Lou, man, thanks so much for that, man. I appreciate it. He says, nothing against Ingram, but I feel tight ends need to be able to block. Otherwise, lose 20 pounds and become a wide receiver. It's fair to bring up. It's fair to bring up, but here's the thing with Ingram. I personally think if Ingram could be a wide receiver, he would have been. I think when he got drafted, teams probably looked at him and said, he's a mismatch. He's a guy who has the speed of a wide receiver, but he probably lacks the route running ability and things like that. And when you become a full-time wide receiver, which is always the answer by a lot of Giants fans, make Ingram the wide receiver. He's not a very good blocker. Well, I think there's a reason that hasn't happened. I think the Giants are smart enough to realize maybe we could try that. You're asking a player to do something completely different when he's a wide receiver rather than lining up as a tight end. It's a completely different skill set. Do I think he could do it part-time? Yes, but I think if he could do it exclusively, the Giants probably would have tried it already. I don't think he can. And I think, like I said, you lose his value when you move him out long time, permanently on the outside because of the mismatch that he presents with the linebackers as a tight end in the passing game.
Yeah, I think Ingram. I mean, let me say it this way: you could have a fantastic running back on your team that's rushing 25 carries a game, getting you 100 yards every single game, who might be a crappy blocker. Do you cut him? And my answer is no. I mean, like some players are better at blocking than others. I appreciate what the question and statement was. I agree, but Ingram is that X factor where like you can come out, you have a 2 tight end set, and now you audible him out. Now he is a wide receiver. Now a linebacker's now moving out of position, and now you can run that way. There's so many things he can do that can just screw up what they want to do on defense, and that to me is where Daniel Jones is really going to bring his game up, is to be able to see the defense and then make adjustments. That's what I'm looking to see. And I think Ingram, if I was a QB, I'd want a guy like that, so I could say, over there.
Yeah.
That's because not all players can do that, because if you have a corner who's a speedy cover corner, he's on a wideout. Now he's on Evan Ingram. Now Evan Ingram can move him out of the way for Saquon, So these are the things that I think he does bring to the table. So got to take the good with the bad a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. In a perfect world, he'd be a great blocker. But it's not always a perfect world with player. We saw that last year with Saquon Barkley. I think a lot of it was because he was banged up, but wasn't very good at blocking. We're not going to get rid of Saquon Barkley. Louis, what's your take there on Ingram? What do you have to say there?
I think it's kind of we know who Everson Griffin is. Yeah, we know his strengths, we know his weaknesses, and the more you play someone's strengths, the better you can profit out of that. So there's no point really dwelling on how we'd like him to be, because you can't always have your dream or what you'd want your player to be. He's gonna improve. Well, we hope he's gonna improve on the areas that he's not good at. But in the meantime, we need to get the best out of what he's best at.
Yeah. No, it's basically the same answer you gave before. Bet, which was the right answer. Benjamin says the clapper will do wonders with DJ Briley.
The clapper.
You're not going to hear any debate from any of us here. I think we all are very optimistic about Jason Garrett and Daniel Jones this year for sure. And the Hub says, question, chances of Giants winning the Super Bowl 55. I think we're good for 56. The Hub says 55. I'm so bad with the numbers. That can't be this year's Super Bowl. Is it? I don't even know. I don't even know. Is this 55 this year? Here's what I'll say. I don't know what the Hub means. I don't know if he means this year. They're not winning a Super Bowl this year. 0%.
I'm sorry, I missed the question. I wasn't.
No, that's okay. No. I honestly don't know what number this is this year. If 55 is this year's Super Bowl, they're not winning it, 0%.
Mhm.
I think next year is where you start to think it's a possibility. But I think 2022 is realistically the first year, if things go according to plan and these players pan out that we're drafting, where I think we could really compete, hopefully win a Super Bowl. So that's my answer.
That's fair.
I think 55 is this year.
Yeah, so this year I'm going to go 0%.
Yeah.
But maybe you guys are more optimistic than me.
I might be wrong, but
I'm a homer, but no.
Yeah. What about you? Any chance this year, Louis, or what?
I mean, they've counted us out before.
Yeah.
So if there's any, we always got to have a bit of hope. But realistically, no.
Yeah.
No.
We have to, as fans, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope I look like a fool.
Yeah.
As fans, we have to go into this year and at least be somewhat realistic. Be optimistic. Think maybe we go on a run, maybe compete, maybe sneak into the playoffs. But you cannot go into the year thinking realistically this team can win a Super Bowl. You're just setting yourself up to be miserable if that's the case. So I think this year is about growth and setting us up for the next 7 or 8 years to hopefully compete for Super Bowls on a year in, year out basis. LA Lou, man, thanks so much for the love. I appreciate it. He says, blocking isn't a size thing. It's a skill thing. If you weigh 220 and up, you just need to know how to block. You can be an effective blocker engaged. Well, I agree that it's something that he could get better at. It's just something that he's not naturally good at. And the coaches have said he's gotten better. But, Lou, I agree. It's something he can definitely get better at. But he's yet to do it with Evan Ingram. Hopefully he does get better. Hopefully he does. Let's see what we got here. We'll take like 2 more questions, and we're going to call it a night, guys. Can we just beat? I hope we could beat the Eagles, Jawad. That's for sure. Okay, here we go. We got one from Alvaro. He says, if O'Shane Ximines and Ryan Conley had a breakout year, who should we draft? Well, I'm not going to give you a name, Alvaro. It's too early in the draft process with a name, but I'll give you a position. If O'Shane Ximines and Ryan Conley have a breakout year, what position should we draft next year? Well, again, how did the wide receivers do? How did all right, here's what I'll say. If what I think all 3 of us deem are the 2 biggest needs right now, at least on the defensive side, a linebacker and an edge rusher, if Conley works out to be a guy that we're like, wow, this guy's ready to go, and one of these edge rushers, I would go wide receiver in the draft. In a draft that's very rich with wide receivers, I think it's too early to take a center. I think you get a good center in the second round. If we felt like that wasn't a supreme need next year, I would go wide receiver probably early in next year's draft to help out Daniel Jones. Yeah. Joel, man, thanks so much for the love. He says, how many years till we become Super Bowl contenders? Just got to ask that. But I think, all right, give me your year, Sean, where you think we're realistically a Super Bowl contender.
Well, I'm always a believer that if you're in the tourney, you got a shot. I mean, if we've learned anything from our Giants over the last couple of decades, it's that. But when are we going to be a team that I look forward to the season and say, yeah, baby, we're going to win. We're going. Yeah, I think we're a couple of years away to be a perennial contender. But I think we've got all the right pieces in the right places. We've got a young quarterback who looks fantastic. We've got an O-line that's being built. We've got Saquon Barkley. We've got a defense that's really coming along. I mean, yeah, we need a few pieces here and there to really make it. But, I think we have so many excellent young players that within a couple of years we could be really good.
Yeah. And what about you, Louis? What do you think? What's a realistic year that you think the Giants will be Super Bowl contenders?
2022. We've got good young players. They're only going to get better. Well, we can hope. And we get past this year. We do solid this year, hopefully. For me, I think 6 and 10 maybe our minimum. 8 and 8 our ceiling this year. That's only going to go up. I'm going to improve. 2022, I think we can really start to contend. 2023, if we don't win it, 2022, maybe get a Super Bowl win. But I think there's a bright future ahead. I don't see anywhere this good. Well, knock on wood, it could go wrong.
Yeah. I've said that about the Mets a lot and the Knicks a lot, and it has not worked out. But I'm with you. I'm very optimistic about the future. I love the way they've been building this team. If the definition is if you make the tournament, I think next year they could make the playoffs. But realistically going into the year, do I think they'll be a Super Bowl contender? Probably in 2021, probably not. I'll probably still think that they're a year away. I do think 2022 is the year, if these players pan out how I think, if they continue to progress, these young players on the team, and they have another strong draft, I think 2022 is the year where we could really go into the season and say, if things break right for us, we could be competing for a Lombardi Trophy. I do really believe that. Of course, a lot of that is going to depend on the growth of Daniel Jones, and this year will be a big step for that. And hopefully we get to see more positive results out of Jones and we see him continue to grow. But my answer as well, I'll agree with both of you guys. I'll say 2022 is the first year where I think it's realistic, where we could actually feel like this team may at least have a good opportunity to compete late into the playoffs. I think 2021, though, we could be a wild card team, maybe even a team that wins the division in a weak NFC East. But this year, I think it's about building, like I've said all along this entire offseason. And if they surprise us, that's great.
Shall we prognosticate?
Yeah. He says, Chris, I have to strongly say I disagree with Kid Blue when it comes to Ingram at wide receiver. There's been a huge amount of players who change positions in football. Anything's possible. I mean, anything's possible. Maybe that'll be the case. And we'll have to wait and see and see what the New York Giants decide to do. That is a constant debate with Giants fans on my channel and a lot of channels on YouTube. Maybe they will decide to do that eventually. Who knows? But, guys, I am going to let you guys wrap it up, and then I'll say my final words. I just want to say thank you to all you guys for tuning in. This was a lot of fun. Hope to have some of you guys who may have watched. Maybe you guys are interested. Comment in my videos. Let me know if you're interested in coming on. I'd love to have both you guys back on again in the near future. You guys did a great job. Obviously I want to get new blood on, give more people an opportunity to come on, but I'll let you close it out first, Sean, then we'll come to you, Louie. Sean, thank you for coming on. Thank you for being such a great supporter of my channel for as long as you have been.
Thank you, entertainer, man. I watch you just about every single day. I mean, I don't look at TV anymore. It's just YouTube, and where's the entertainer? What does he have to say today? I have more watch hours of you probably than anything else on television. But anyway, so I guess, are we talking Giants this year?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, here it comes. I know that you have some Eagles fans out there, right? You have some Redskins fans out there, I think, right? Some Cowboys fans, right? Here it comes. I think the NFC East is the weakest division in the NFL by a lot. I think the Eagles and the Cowboys are both very, very weak teams in so many spots. I'm not a believer in Dak Prescott or Carson Wentz or Haskins. I just don't think they're going to be Super Bowl quarterbacks. So, playoffs. I think there's one chance the Giants have where they could legitimately win the playoffs this year, and they have to beat the heck out of the NFC East. I think if the Giants go 5-1 against the NFC East, they could win the division at 9-7. Because if you look at their schedule, man, they're going to get beat up by a lot of really, really good teams. But I think that'll be good for them because they'll develop. But, I think if I was a betting man, which I'm not, I think we're looking at about a 7-9.
Yeah, I think that's fair expectations. I think 6 or 7 wins. As far as what you said about the division, I agree. And the good news is, where I do agree with you that we have a really tough schedule, the good news is all those other teams have a tough schedule. So they're going to get beat up too. I'm going to bring in Heartstar Media. I see he just popped. Well, I'll wait to see. Oh, he sat down. I'll let him pop back in. I think he wants to say his goodbyes as well. There's Heartstorm. We're closing out, but I saw you pop back in. So
I finally made it home. Got my phone charged up. My phone died on me earlier. And I want to say, Sean, you're thinking my language, man. The NFC East is weak. Mm-hmm. I'm not a fan of their quarterbacks. Carson Wentz is made of brittle. Dak Prescott might have 2 people vying for his job. He might still not have a contract. Dwayne Haskins is Dwayne Haskins. And the NFC East is up for grabs, man.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that. If we can win 4 games in the division, we'll be in the thick of it. I will agree with that, and that's going to come down to beating the teams we haven't been able to beat the last couple of years in the Cowboys and the Eagles. Redskins, I think we'll at least split with and hopefully sweep.
Yeah, I got to sweep in the Redskins and hopefully finally splitting with the Eagles. Somebody would have to tell me when was the last time we split with the Cowboys. I mean, with the Cowboys and the Eagles in the same year. where we beat both of them at least once in the same year. That's got to be 6 years ago.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, we swept the Cowboys in 2016, but I did the Eagles sweep? I can't remember. The Eagles swept us that year? I can't remember.
Yeah, so like Sean said, man, if we can get 5 victories out of it. I mean, 4. I slated us for 4. I slated us to sweep the Redskins and split with other 2 teams. And my Ben game is the Rams or the Steelers. That gets me to 8 or 9 wins. One of those games. I feel like we'll beat one of those games.
I like it. I like the optimism. And Louis, I'm gonna let you close it out, and then we're gonna go. Then we're gonna go to Hearthstone. Go ahead, Louis.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for the opportunity. Every morning I get up, watch one of the videos, have my breakfast, then keep checking my notifications throughout the day. Have I got a new video to watch? And I just really appreciate Beyond's coming on. Obviously, my knowledge isn't going to be as good as yours, and I appreciate having the opportunity to learn more. And I love learning more about our franchise. So it's well worth staying up to 4:15 to talk to all you guys, and I just want to say thank you.
Louis, I'm blown away that you know as much as you do, man. You've been following for a couple of years, man. You're spot on. You know so much, man. I joked before. I said, no, you're from Bayonne, New Jersey.
Yeah, man. Louis, man, I appreciate the kind words, man. And thank you for being such a great supporter. I was really happy to have you on. You did a great job. And like I said earlier, man, anytime, like I said, I want to get some new people on the next couple shows, but would love to have all you guys back. You all did a great job. And yeah, like Sean said, Louis, man, for a guy who's only been really following the sport for a couple of years, yeah, you have a lot of knowledge. And thank you for all the kind words you said about my channel, too. I appreciate it.
Of course. Pleasure.
And Mustafa, let's go to you, man.
Hey, I want to thank any of you guys that took the time to check out my channel. I really appreciate that. Again, like Chris always says, I do have a lot going on my channel. I'm kind of all over the place. I don't think I'm going to niche down my channel, and I'm not a giant YouTuber. I don't have the time that Chris does. I'm like Louis said, I watch so much of your content. It's crazy that you're able to keep so much content going. Yeah. Every time you put out a new video, I'm like, Jesus Christ, like. You put out videos that I think about doing. Sometimes you'll have a video on it, and then you'll already be to the next video. And I'm like, man, like I just don't have time to read the articles. You're on the Twitter. It's like you're reading the quotes, the comments. I don't know how you keep track of it, man. So I applaud you. It's going to be a fun season, especially with so many of the new Giants fans I've connected with through YouTube platform. Like I said, a lot of the other channels I watch, I look forward to seeing OGR rant throughout the season and watching Bad Dog rant throughout the season. I watch a lot of guys. I watch Fitz Vegas. I like seeing him go off sometimes. So it's like I really enjoy making these connections with the fans, and I love the feedback and the comments. And I really appreciate anybody that went and checked out my channel, especially today, and subscribed. I really appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, any of my subscribers that if you have, and go check out that as well. Sure.
Yeah, I'm on that, man. I'm on that, Sean.
Shameless plug. Yeah, my name is Conway Fitzgerald. I have an audiobook that's adventure fantasy if you want to check it out. It's called The Giant Killers. Has nothing to do.
And really quick, Sean, what's the actual name of your YouTube channel?
It's my pen name, Conway Fitzgerald.
Conway Fitzgerald. Gotcha.
I'm going to subscribe to that too right after the stream. And thank you so much, Blue Collar, for the $2 donation. I appreciate it. He says, great show as always, great guest. Yeah, they did a great job. And like I said, any of my subscribers, go ahead and subscribe to Heartstorm. Go ahead and subscribe to Sean's channel. And I just say thank you guys for coming on. And one thing I want to do, and I don't know if Louis is going to be able to do it. He's from the UK, but one thing I want to really try to organize. Well, I don't know if it's going to happen this year with everything going on, but I'm going to try to make it a yearly thing every year. Try to get Giants fans together for tailgating, for a game, things like that. Maybe even going to a bar to watch games. That's something that I definitely want to build the Giants community. If not this year, definitely in the future. Training camp, things like that. So hopefully we're able to do things like that together. Not just you guys, but everybody in the chat and other Giants video makers, and just continue to build this community. And I love doing what I do. I love working with all.
Let me throw out a tip to you really quick, Chris, before you go. I don't think you're a Knicks fan, but
I am.
Channel you are. Do you watch Knicks fan TV?
I do.
Okay, they do a lot of stuff like that. They had a suite in last year, in the season, they had a suite, and they brought out a lot of people. I think they had 100 people in their suite. So if you want to try to reach out to them,
Yeah, I was with Nothing But Knicks. He also did it.
Okay.
Sim.
Oh yeah, I know that. Yeah, I watched the channel too. Yeah.
And
So they
I
might do
went to his where they did a 100
the-
person.
Okay.
But yeah, that's something I definitely want to do and try to organize. And I got to reach out to him. I said in the season I'm probably gonna do a podcast with Knicks Fan TV talking Knicks and Giants, mixing the two together. But yeah, they got great channels over there too. But yeah, that's something I definitely want to do. And I actually talked to Fireside. They've got connections with Coors Light. They're gonna try to sponsor a tailgate. So.
All right, that's what's up.
Yeah, that's something I really want to try to do. But yeah, I mean, I just want to say thank you again to all you guys. You guys made the show a lot easier for me. It's usually just me, so I got to have you guys talk for half of it, and I talk for the other half. So you guys were incredible. Thank you guys for coming on. And thank you to everybody in the chat. You know, Nikki, Florida, sports influencer, everybody in here, Sacred Dust. Thank you to everybody that tuned in. Hope you guys had a good time, and we're gonna wrap it up. But guys, thank you again for coming on, and go Giants.
Yes.